take it and render it and put it, pop it on YouTube.
All right. Well, welcome. It's good to see all of you on this. I hope you're having beautiful weather like we are down here in Metro Detroit. I'm excited to share with you today. Our speaker today is Mimi Brown, and she comes to us here at NSA Michigan. Has it been about 10 years, Mimi?
Ooh, it has. 2011 is when I went to my first meeting, and 13 is when I joined.
Well, that's excellent. Well, she came with a corporate job, but a passion in her heart, knowing that she had a message that she wanted to share. And she was really looking to move from that corporate job into her own speaking business so that she could reach more people with her brilliance and insights. Mimi's the author of 3 books: Amp Up Your Success, 52 Tips Every Leader Should Know; Amp Up Sales, 71 Tips to Skyrocket Your Revenue and Be a Communication Rock Star, and Be a Communication Rock Star, 52 Tips to Gain Connection, Skyrocket Confidence, and Reduce Conflict. So Mimi comes today with over 15 years of leadership and communication consulting and training experience. She knows how to rock the platform, connect with a crowd, and have people laugh while learning. And part of what we're doing today is to really learn what she did to go from, hi, I'd like to have a speaking business, to I have a speaking business and a darn good one too. So we're going to hear a little bit about what she did to propel herself into the world of speakers. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mimi Brown.
Yay! You do that so eloquently. I'm like, who was she talking about? So welcome everyone. I'm thrilled. I actually started my speaker journey in what was then known as ProTrack, which is now the Michigan Speakers Academy. And I will tell you, it was a game changer for me, not just from the content standpoint, but from the connection standpoint. Both Marilyn and Pam have been fearless supporters and advocates, and also have talked me off the ledge several times. I remember I wanted to quit my job and I wasn't able to, and I went to Pam in tears. I'm like, I'm ready to. She said, nope, you're not. I don't think you're ready yet. And thank God you told me this. Yeah, at that point, I needed to keep that job. So today is really about ensuring that we set you up with a plan to properly share your message. And one of the things that I often see people make a misstep with when it comes to speaking is they might have a passion and a message that they want to share, but they forget that it's a business. And you have 2 important jobs when it comes to speaking, or any business that you have, to operate and run that business and to market the snot out of it. Because I don't know if you've ever sat in an audience before, and maybe you've seen another speaker and you go, I'm at least that good. How did that person make it on the platform and I didn't? And really, they knew about them and they didn't know about you. And so how do you make sure that you stay in front of them and that you set up a framework where you really have a system to be successful? And so today, I'm certified in a program called Get Clients Now, which is a professional marketing, I guess you could use, framework for people in professional services. And so I've created, I've done my own little abbreviated version. And today's program is called Score More Clients, which is the same kind of framework, but I've added in a couple other things that I found to be successful. So you're going to see me really quick adjust this Zoom. So bear with me for a moment. What I find, this is just a side note, and I'll do this a lot throughout our time together, is I'll do what I call pull the curtain back. And my pull the curtain back moments are, I'll share with you, like if you were another audience, because we're family and friends, some of the things I found helpful, like Marilyn was sharing at the beginning, that you don't want to, like Seth Golden recommends that you don't want to see your photo or your video just because it becomes a little distracting. But one of the things I found helpful is if you're ever running a Zoom meeting and you're a little bit challenged by it being what we call full presentation mode, which means I can't always see my notes. Zoom has this little handy feature called, is it called part of the screen? Let me see if I get it. I wanna make sure I get it correct. Like portion of the screen, it's in the advanced tab in Zoom. And what it allows you to do is take a portion of the screen, the PowerPoint, and pop it up. And what I like about that is it gives you so much more agility with the rest of your technology. So I can still see everybody else's video and I can still navigate to other things and still see my notes. And so you only see the portion of the screen. Now, as a side note, you may want to do this before people kind of pop on because you saw how the portion showed everything, but it's super helpful. And then literally once I hit enter, it'll just keep going through each of the different slides without me having to like reshare my screen. So we'll have some of those pull back the curtain moments. So in the chat box, what I'd like for you to do is just throw in your name. Actually, we can do this out loud because we're all together. We're going to do a quick roll call. So give us your name. How long have you been speaking, and where are you in your business? So are you just getting started, dipping your toe in? Are you have you done a few engagements? Just give us a little bit of background.
I can start. I'm Marge Calarco. I've done some speaking outside of my organization, but most of my speaking has been in my organization for many years in my organization. I really am just contemplating a business. So I'm just beginning. I'm just trying to learn what it might require to make the decision.
So Marge, let me ask this really quick. What organization are you in?
So I was the chief nurse executive of the University of Michigan Health System for 17 years. And in that role and other roles that I've had in the organization, I've done some training, but mostly speaking to leadership groups, the nursing community, that type of thing. And more like some are keynotes, some are leadership presentations and those types of things. I have spoken outside to professional groups, but that's mostly presentations of research that I've done, or sometimes keynotes at different professional meetings, or like a commencement or something like that.
And so for the speaking that you've done kind of outside of that role,
Yeah.
How have you come across those engagements?
Well, for a lot of it, you have to apply. So there are many, many research conferences and professional annual meetings or that type of thing where abstracts are solicited for presentations, sometimes main presentations, sometimes what's called a poster presentation of the research. So I apply to those and get selected. Sometimes people have heard me speak and have recommended me. So I've gotten them in that way, but that's a very small.
Like applying, like word of mouth of other people.
Yeah, because I've done a lot of speaking within the organization, and there's thousands of 6,000 nurses. Some nurses who've heard me may recommend, like the last time I spoke was at U of M Flint in the School of Nursing there, because one of the faculty knew of me having been at U of M Ann Arbor for a long time. And I gave a sort of a keynote at an honor society induction.
Got it. All right, so that's helpful. So we're speaking within the organization, you've been a little bit outside and people have heard you speak and you've gotten the word of mouth or the connection point. All right, we're going to talk about a little bit about word of mouth as one of your tactics that you can use. And I think it's probably one of the most underutilized pieces, and there's ways you can do it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl or Amy?
Okay, Amy Forehand. And I have been speaking as I'll start with where I'm at in my business, and then I'll answer the time speaking. So where I'm at in my business, I started in 19, I would say my thought about being a speaker started when you called me, Mimi, and said, hey, you need to come to this. I saw you started a business, you're going to be a speaker. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm a consultant. You said, no, you're going to be a speaker. Which I tell that story all the time. And then I gently accepted the fact that, yes, I am going to be a speaker. And so I have done several webinars. I have, some of my speaking is facilitation of training. I am, in May, I am presenting to an organization, a change organization. So I got an opportunity finally to talk about employeeship. So that was one of my goals. And then I just applied to speak at a manufacturing association meeting in May, which they asked for speakers really late. But anyway,
It's happening like that.
yeah. And so I think in the formal keynote, I'm just getting started. Prior to that, it was within company, and because we know each other and I was one of your presenters, you kind of know what I do and how I do it. But I had roles of facilitating training, but then also because I was a leader in the organization, addressing groups of employees from that leadership role in a speaking position as well. So,
well, Amy and I have some history together because when we both worked for consumers, Amy we co-taught some classes together, and it was, I think it was like change management stuff, or was it SSI, FLSI, like Salary Supervisor Institute. But one of my favorite memories of you, Amy, was we were in this training, and it was a communication class, and you had to get your partner to describe what you drew without them being able to see it. And Amy just brought up this really great story about how this leader just said star, and that was it, like he walked away. I don't know why that sticks for me, but that's when I knew you were a speaker, because you told such great stories, and stories are your intellectual property as a speaker. Couple quick things too. Marge and Amy, you both said this, and I wanna reiterate this. Training is speaking. Sometimes in NSA, we like to put people in these boxes or categories. You're only a true speaker if you're a keynoter. No, if you're training, you're speaking. If you are facilitating a virtual program, and I've tried to get away from using the word webinar because it has a negative connotation to it. I like to say a virtual program, because a program can be a half an hour, a program can be several days, but it's one of the ways that you can market it, because you can, I think of it like an accordion. So I want to encourage you that if you're training, you're speaking, and that's a part of your qualification, if you will, or expertise.
Yeah.
Mimi, Mimi.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Marilyn. Did you have something?
I was just going to say, and I think that's really important to remember, because I never wanted to be a speaker, and that's a whole other story.
Mm-hmm.
But what I realized, when you really grow your competency in speaking as a trainer, you stand out, and they want you to come back as a trainer, a facilitator, because you're much more engaging, you're much more interesting, you've got much more command of what's going on. So yeah, I think people at NSA need to remember a very, very small portion, probably 2% of the people at NSA are keynoters only.
Yeah.
All of
we can't sustain a business that way. It is very challenging, I will tell you, to sustain a business only through keynoting. You absolutely need to have a mix. And if we had a little bit more time together, I can send you the document, but you can talk about your marketing mix. Like, so where do you want your business to come from? What percentage do you want to do of keynotes? What percentage do you want to do of training? What percentage do you want to travel? What percentage do you want to do regional? And I have some colleagues who have a regional strategy. She does 40% regional, because if she can drive it in 2 hours and be back with her kids, that's a part of her marketing strategy. So then she looks at that particular area and might offer some kind of a special program. So it's being thoughtful about how do you want to structure your business is definitely part of that conversation.
Yeah. And I guess I'll say, in terms of this is kind of where maybe I'm thinking about I'm gonna go. Yesterday, I spent some time setting some like targets for myself for my business. And one of these sessions, I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of them in the last couple months. I made a note to myself, 1,000 speaking engagements by 2025. And I can't remember which guest prompted that. But so yesterday I broke out, like, how could I get there?
Mhm.
And so when you talked about like training, my 6 areas that I have targets for are video, webinars, training. I have these small group coaching sessions that I call grow sessions, keynotes, and I think not this year, but next year, I'm going to try and find some spots where I can be guests on podcasts.
Yep.
Not committing that I want to start a podcast. I don't want that volume of work, but I think that's like a marketing strategy I'm going to need as I'm ramping up employeeship. So
That's absolutely
these are all my speaking categories as I'm thinking about the next 5 years.
smart. And Amy, this will make sense when we start talking about the difference between strategies and tactics, and you can decide where you want to focus. So put a pin in that because we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Gerald. Hi, Gerald.
I'm Gerald Birchmeyer. I have been, well, talking too much since I was in kindergarten. It said so on my report card. There was always a joke, if I could get paid to speak, I'd be a millionaire, but it doesn't happen quite that easily. So I have been speaking informally. Like, I spoke at an allergy support group when my son had allergies, and I spoke at a professional meeting for the first time in 2009. But all of these presentations that I spoke at the local library, so they've all been no fee type presentations. It's just, I've been very passionate about the topic. I even spoke at a medical school and it was a no fee presentation. I'm like, I don't, and they tell you right up front, we don't pay for what we're doing today. This is just volunteers. So, and then, so where am I in speaking? I've been on hold. I had been, I had some health issues last year, ending with COVID at this last couple months. So, why not finish with that? But doing much better and wanting to get speaking, but knowing that I hear you, some of you traveling and here and there and everywhere. I don't know that I can do that. So I'm having to look at probably be more virtual, more local, at least at this point in my life. Maybe in the future I would love to travel and do more of that, but I'm in a very place where my topic is often not, but yet there is a reason it should be, because if people aren't compliant with the ADA law, which I speak about in relation to healthcare, they could get sued. So there's a real financial benefit to people learning about what I speak about, but they don't know what they don't know, and they don't always care because they're so busy meeting so many other regulations. So I would really like to turn it into a pay business so that I can, leave what I do at the hospital. But that's just where I'm at. I'm in a little bit of I've learned so much. I've been in CMSA since 2019. I joined right up and signed right up for this academy, which I feel like I almost got the bonus round because of 20, and getting to go through this in 21. It's been a wonderful learning experience. And I feel like I have a lot of knowledge now. I'm like, how do I move the train forward and start getting out there? I'm starting to get some word of mouth recognition, which is nice. And most of it I've had to, I joined on an organization I belong to. What a great learning experience, because I saw from the inside how they plan these events. And I think that was a really, really moved me too. So,
And Gerald, I really like how you use like no fee instead of saying free. And when I
learned that from
and then also being able to pivot to say, I'm doing, because that could be a part of your marketing strategy, is I do so many no fee engagements a year, and you pick that number as your business. And
Right.
then you make a decision on whether or not you want to accept it, and you have criteria for that. And just because it's no fee doesn't mean that you don't get something of value for it. So whether it's video, I'll give you an example. I just accepted a gig for in October for Office Dynamics, and I'm a breakout speaker. It doesn't pay a whole lot, but I get a 3-camera shoot on a beautiful stage. And I don't have any video because we've been in COVID. And so I negotiated that, and I negotiated 2 extra days at their retreat in Vegas. And that was a value to me because I wanted to get out and like be out with people. So know that even when you say no fee, you still need to get something of value, and you decide what that value is. Hey, I'm happy to do it, or I do so many no fee engagements a year. Here's how that works. And I like the term "here's how that works" is because you're setting an expectation of this is how my business operates. And when you wear the hat of this is my business, I'm the CEO, I'm in charge, there's a certain confidence that comes with that. And I think that gets conveyed to your clients at the same time. So I don't think it's anything wrong with having some engagements that you do for no fee, but limit the number and have criteria around what that looks like for you. And then the other thing is, and I got this from Lois Kramer, and it is so true, whatever your fee is, practice saying it out loud several times, at least 100. And I remember, and then we're going to get into the content. I remember I got a call from a conference I had been like just swooning over for years. And they finally called me because I had been harassing them for a while. And we'll talk about like the part of the marketing, what the definition of marketing really is. And she said, "Hey, Mimi, we've seen your stuff. We would love to have you come out. What is your fee?" And so I proudly gave her my fee, and I shut up, which is a very important part of giving your fee, because you'll talk yourself out of it. You'll say, "Oh, it's 5 bananas, but I'm offering a discount right now." And then because of COVID and subtract, I can do it for $1. So you've kind of talked yourself down. But the other part I wasn't prepared for, she said, "What's your fee?" She said, "What if we want you for 2 engagements?" And my eyes got big, and I go, "Lois didn't help me with this. We didn't talk about this." Because I wasn't going to say the fee that I had. I was going to swing them a deal since I'm going to be there anyway. But I'm like trying to run numbers really fast. So just be prepared for, what is your fee? And then even beyond that, maybe you have 2, like they're asking you to do 2 back-to-back events, but just get used to saying it. Because then the person on the other end can hear that. They can hear your confidence. They can hear your lack of confidence, and it comes across. And the only difference between I would say a $5,000 keynoter and a $10,000 keynoter is 2 things. They're marketing, and they believe that they're different. Now, and when I say that is all things being equal as far as their speaking ability, because that's, to me, the price of entry is you have a message and it's solid, you have something to share. But what I found the biggest difference is they believe that they're worth that amount, but their marketing also backs that up. And so we can kind of talk about that a little bit later. All right. So how do you feel about marketing? When I use the term marketing, or I say, "Hey, I need you to market your business," what comes to mind for you? Just go ahead and yell out some thoughts and terms. And I'm going to grab a bottle of water while you guys are doing that. What are some terms when I use the term marketing?
Well, I'm hesitant because it seems like self-promotion, which I'm not very comfortable doing.
And March, there's definitely some challenges for some folks, yep, because it feels self-promotion, self-promoting, and it is, but it's also learning how to do it in such a way that feels genuine. And how do you talk about that? And I'll give you some tips on that. What else when you think about marketing?
The word LinkedIn just pops in my head.
And LinkedIn is definitely a tactic that you can use. I'm a big fan of Phil Gerbishak. He is one of the kings of LinkedIn, but that's only a part of it.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, when you look at who your target client is, do they show up on LinkedIn? They could be on Instagram. They could be on Facebook if you're using social media. And once again, social media is a tactic. You have to decide what the strategy is. What about for you, Gerald? When you think of marketing, what comes to mind for you?
the first thing that came to mind was to sell people. You have to sell yourself to people.
And we'll get into the definition of what marketing is in a bit. So you might feel like this. You're not sure where to start. You don't feel like you have enough clients. You might be a little frustrated. You might feel stuck, or you might feel like overwhelmed. And I know when I first started, you had all these folks who saying, hey, I can get you, the X number of speaking engagements. And if you just follow my method, there's no magic pill. One of the best strategies you can have is actually determining what that strategy is and creating tactics around it and really knowing who you're serving. And you're going to hear, and I'm sure you've heard people in other sessions say the riches are in the niches, and it's true. Because what problem do you solve? I'm going to give y'all some homework to do. I'm going to give you the homework now. And it's something, it'll take you probably 5 or 10 minutes, but either take a screenshot of this or I can send it to Pam afterwards. But when people ask you, what do you do? I want you to think through, what do you say? And I'm going to give you a hint. It's not that I'm a speaker, because a speaker doesn't tell me what problem you solve. But I want you to create a bumper sticker to describe the problem that you solve for people. And everyone's familiar with bumper stickers, right? So here's a couple examples. Don't touch me, I'm that kind of car. And what if the hokey pokey is what it's really all about? I thought this was, yes, this is my truck and no, I won't help you move. The whole point of a bumper sticker is to be able to say something short and pithy and get your attention, right? It's not a whole lot of words. It's not a title. The whole purpose is for you to go, oh, I get it instantly. And that's what you want people to consider when you say, what do you do? And it's really the problem that you solve. There was some Nobel Peace Prize research that said people are more likely to buy when you focus on solving a problem than when you focus on something they're going to gain. And that's why I'm such a big fan of, what's the issue that they're dealing with? And then how can you speak to that issue in such a way that resonates with them? So that when they hear it, they go, Amy's the person for me. The analogy I often like to use is, let's say that you went to does everyone have a primary care physician, like a family doctor? And your family doctor takes care of everything, right? So if you have a cold, you have the sniffles, if you need a shot, and they're typically the person that you go to if you need a referral to a specialist. Well, what if you went to your doctor and you said, hey, I got this really bad knee problem and I think I need to have surgery. And the doctor says, hey, you know what, I do that too. Let me look, that's one of the 20 things that I can offer. And you ask, well, how often have you done knee surgery? I've done about 5 of them. I think I'm pretty good at it. I can read a book really quick. I went to medical school. Now, how much confidence are you going to have in that doctor versus someone who says they're a specialist and they've done 20,000 surgeries? Who are you more likely to go to?
Specialist.
The specialist. And I want you to think of yourself as a specialist. What's your niche? What do you want people to know you for? And here's the other part, is in this speaking journey, because it's definitely a journey, you won't necessarily know off the start. Some of you will, like Gerald's very specific in who she serves, and it's a passion behind it, but it may change. I know Pam will tell you, when I first started, I can't even remember. I think I was talking about relationships. Like I went all over the place, and finally being able to land in a space and serve an audience. But it took me a while to get in front of that audience to determine that those were my people. And I will tell you, my target market are working with women in the technology fields who have a lot of expertise and abilities, but lack the ability to show up with what I call their personal presence. And I call it owning their swag. But that is the lane that I landed in. And it took me forever, it felt like, to get there. So know that it's not a, hey, I've arrived kind of thing. It takes some time for you to do that. So that's your homework. The next time you have an MSA session, I want you to come back and say, hey, this is my bumper sticker. And you want to think of a bumper sticker as 10 words or less, and you're describing what problem you solve for people. So when you think about your marketing right now, so how people, that's one of the reasons I asked you, like I asked Marge and Amy and Gerald, like, how did people find out about you? What strategies or tactics do you currently use to market your business? What do you find that has worked for you?
Mhm.
Well, the only things I've used are word of mouth, and then those very specific abstract submissions of abstracts and those types of things to very specific professional groups and conferences.
A call for speakers kind of thing in the presentation?
Yeah, they call for abstracts and yeah, that's all I've used though.
Got it. What about for you, Amy? What strategies or tactics?
So I have been working on being more intentional about my networking and who I am trying to connect with. And I made a shift at the beginning of the year, trying to get into some different networks. And with the goal of generating referrals, word of mouth. I'm using my webinars for part of the generation of business. So I'll use that for leads. And then I'm actually getting from social media, like I did some interviews with somebody and there was like, some video interview that was on LinkedIn, and I've gotten a couple calls actually from those that I wasn't expecting. So the other thing that and I didn't talk about it, that I'm pursuing is working and trying to be a partner in subcontracting right now, because I don't want to spend a lot of time marketing. And so that's kind of where I'm working on my networking, is finding people where if they have a business where they're in an engagement with somebody and it makes sense to bring in somebody to assist with the culture transformation or the ongoing change transformation for the work that they're doing. So I'm talking to people who do, continuous improvement or process improvement or payroll implementations or something that's kind of tangential to my work, that they know me now. Or I've met even a couple of people who like the front end of the culture stuff. Like, they give them like, here's what your culture should be, but they have no desire to go in and then help the company
work.
implement it. So I've been trying to connect with those people, because then I get the referral. I don't have to go sell myself on the market as much, because that's just to preserve my personal time with my kids.
When I transitioned Amy into speaking full-time, that's actually what I did. I did some part-time consulting work with actually an NSA member, and it was a game changer for me because it gave me consistent cash. But here's the thing is, be very intentional about what mix of that do you want in your business, because you don't want it to take it over, because eventually you want to transition and do your stuff, plus you get paid more money for it. But figure out what that mix is. Is it 30% of your business? Is it 20%? Is it so many engagements per year? How much time do you want to dedicate? And then write it down and stick to it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Gerald, what about for you?
It's because I'll just do the next thing, and it's like you guys are describing such intentionality. I would say referrals, word of mouth, networking, and as Marge said, applying to calls for speakers on professional conferences.
Nice.
Is where
Oh, sorry, Gerald, you got a slight delay, so I apologize if I interrupted you.
Oh, I just worry a little. I'm because of my situation right now, I worry about getting too busy too fast, where I don't want to get to a point where I can't manage what comes, and I don't want to be like, no. So is there an intentional way to kind of, is this that probably at a little right now?
So Gerald, heard a couple things. One is being intentional. And I think sometimes in our head, like we're like, oh my God, I'm in it so busy. It doesn't always quite work out that way, but I would encourage you to think about how many engagements you want to take. What does that mix look like? And then like write it down so that when someone does call you or they request your services, you can look and go, okay, I have room and space to do this much. But the other part is this is a process. So it's not like you're going to put something out there on Monday and then on Tuesday, your phone is going to blow up and ring. It takes a while. What I typically see, depending on what your sales cycle is in speaking and your audience is, let's say I'm looking at this from a quarter standpoint. If it's January, February, March, if I don't have my phone ringing in March or April, that means I didn't do the work in January. And it depends on what because each speaker, each business has their own sales cycle. And you know when, like as an example, in your business, it could be with ADA stuff that there's an ADA awareness month where you see an uptick. And for Marge, it might be Nurses Week or Nurses Month where she sees an uptick because they're looking for certain speakers. So it's knowing the cyclical nature of your business and what that might look like. And you always want to be on the front end of that. So if Nurses Week, and I'm just making some stuff up, Marge is in April, that means I'm gonna start doing some of my footwork in January, which means that I'm gonna start seeing that, you know, I want to start booking those gigs. And right now, I will tell you, and Pam and Marilyn can kind of speak to this, 5 years ago, you had a year out. Now I get some calls 6 weeks or a month. Can you do this? Or it's a virtual program. How's 3 weeks from now? Because that makes it so much easier. So it's you kind of looking at what do you want it to look like? Because you get to decide. Like I think sometimes we're waiting for other people to tell us, so you get to decide what that looks like. And part of your being intentional is how many gigs do I want? And then what does it take to close? And I'm going to talk a little bit about those numbers as we get in later, because that'll give you a good example of, for every keynote that I have or every training, how many outreaches did I have to get in order to get there? And what gets measured gets improved. So any of your strategies or tactics that you have, you want to have a form of measurement for it so that you know if it's working. And we're going to talk about in a minute, like some tactics that people use and they don't measure it. So actually, let's just jump into that now. So a lot of businesses are operating on what I call the Kevin Costner myth. And has anyone seen the movie Field of Dreams? So it's one of my faves. And in the movie, there's this mantra that Kevin is told as one of the old baseball greats comes down and says, if you build it, they will come. They lied. It's not about if you build it, they will come. Like, hey, I am a business. Do you know I'm a speaker? I got business cards. I can even say I even have a book and I have a website. And there's no, my phone's not ringing. Or what that I thought if I built it, I thought if I put this website up, because I have some people who get, as Eleni Kalako says, they get ready to get ready. And so they haven't kind of built that, they haven't set their business up for success, but they think, hey, I built the website, so there you go. Or the website's stopping me. I have to have a website to start speaking. No, you don't. There's other ways that you can get in front of people. You can create a one sheet. You can send out marketing. You can make a phone call. You can do a 2-minute video. There's so many different ways to do it. Don't let that stop you. But what I will tell you is, if you build it, market the snot of it, sell it really well, and they might come. Because it's not an exact science, but I will tell you that it's really about the effort that you put in, because you'll learn so much more about your market, about how everything works, even about the words to use. I'll give you a quick example. So Abbott Industries just called me for a speaking engagement. And she sent me an inquiry on my website, and she found me on LinkedIn and sent me a text message. It was like super intense. So I'm responding to her. And I said, how did you find me? And she said, oh, I literally went on Google and put motivational speaker in and your name popped up. So, now mind you, I've had that on my LinkedIn profile easily 5-6 years. The first person that's ever Googled or like LinkedIn that, and I came up and they called me. So it's more about using a mix of different things and ensuring that your name is out there in such a way where people make that association for you. And then as she read my profile, she went to the website. all of it came together for her. But if I was just relying on, hey, I'm going to get the right, be motivational speaker on LinkedIn, and that's going to be it. Nah, that's just one of many different things you want to do. So here's a little quick thing about my story. So I was a Spartan, go green. I went to Michigan State University. I graduated, moved to Minneapolis, and worked for Target's headquarters, and got laid off really fast. Probably about a year in. And so I had to come back home. So moved back 782 miles from Minneapolis, Minnesota, back to Detroit. And for those of you who don't speak Mimi, that means Detroit. And I'm staying in my grandmother's house on the west side of Detroit and miserable. I don't have enough money. I have $18.23 in my bank account. And the reason I remember that amount was because I didn't have enough to get money out of the ATM machine. You needed a $20 bill. And so I was like hit rock bottom. Here I was. Started, it was the bottom of the recession was 2008, and I went into Boston market, and I just needed a job. And I said, hey, I applied, and they told me I was overqualified to flip chicken, and I was crushed. And so I had a conversation with my dad, and he said, hey, Mimi, you should really go back to basics. I had been a DJ since I was 16 years old, started my high school radio station, and then transitioned into mobile DJing in college, and that paid my way through college. And so I had started hearing some murmurs about this trivia thing and how bars were using trivia as a way to bring more revenue into their business. And that's when I had this light bulb moment. And what I mean by this light bulb moment is I actually started to do a little bit of research around the bars. So I created a process, and whether you're wearing your sales hat or you're wearing your marketing hat, it is absolutely a process. So I understood who my target was. I know my target were bars who had typically had either DJs or like bingo or something that brought people in on the weekends, but they were looking for that lull throughout the week. And usually restaurants have a dip on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, some Thursdays, depending on their format. And so I just started running a list. And so I ran a list of all these different local bars in the area, and I sent out a sales letter. Sales letter was very simple. By the way, if you ever write a sales letter, one of my favorite resources is Dan Kennedy's book, The Ultimate Sales Letter. And he walks you through the methodology behind it. And Dan Kennedy is so good at this that people pay him millions of dollars, like hundreds and thousands of dollars to write one letter, but that one letter can yield a lot of revenue in their business. And so one of the key components of a really good sales letter is at the bottom, it has PS. And your postscript, people will typically, they'll read through or skim through a letter, but they'll always go back and read the PS. And there's, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's something in like the 10 or 15% range that they'll follow through or take the action on the PS. And you can have multiple PS, and check out Dan's book, he'll talk about that. So I sent this letter out, and the purpose of the letter wasn't for them to hire me. The purpose of the letter was for me to get an inroads to make a phone call. And so I would send the letter out. And by the way, there's different rules of thumb around using what they call bumpy mail. You want something that makes it stand out and get them to open it. And so I put in like a little G.I. Joe, and it made it where they're wondering like, what is in this thing? And I also put a range of different stamps because I didn't want it to look like it came from an official business. I wanted it to look like it came from their grandma, because if it came from grandma, what am I likely to do?
Open it.
I'm going to open it, right? So they would open the letter. Now I would make the phone call. Hey, Bill, this is Mimi Brown with Jam and DJs. Did you get I just wanted to follow up and make sure you got my letter. And Bill would go, letter. No worries. Let me tell you really quick why I'm calling. And then I would go through, 2 minutes. I'd have my spiel together. And I said, hey, I just need 10 minutes of your time. So that first step was a letter. Second part was the phone call. Third was an in-person meeting. Once we got the in-person meeting, and then I would have I had a portfolio set up with all stats about trivia. I would even do like a mini trivia game for them at that time. And then we would do a trial run. And at that point, I, within probably 2 months, had started consistently getting 4 figures in. Not a huge amount, but a definite uptick from $18.23 in your bank account. And all because I followed a process. And that's what marketing is all about, is following a process. I knew who my target was. I knew what problem I wanted to solve for them. And I knew how I needed to get in front of them. And I also knew where my skill set lied. I wasn't going to be really great, like writing a ton of letters, but if I got in front of them, if I got optic stem to optic stem and they could see me in action, which by the way, as a speaker, you want people to see you speak because that's one of your best business cards. It's one of your best ways to market. But I knew if I could get in front of them, I could make it happen. And at one point, I had more engagements or more speaking trivia contracts than I did people to run them, which was a good problem to have, but ultimately put me out of business. But we won't talk about that. I need to manage that part. But the whole purpose is I created a whole system. And so what I found is service marketing is a little different than product marketing because services are intangible. You're taking something that you have to be able to describe and they have to experience and know that these people are buying it by judgment. I know you probably heard the term before. People buy, they rationalize with, they buy with emotion and rationalize it with logic. So if you can meet them where they are and bring them where you need them to be, that's a part of the strategy. And then people do business with folks that they know, they like, and they trust. So how are you building that affinity with them? When I would find out little things about these clients that I was in front of and would find a way to have small talk with them and build rapport with them. I tried to find a common place that we both had experience in, if I could do a little bit of research on LinkedIn. And then trust is, am I doing what I say I'm doing? So if I say I'm gonna call you, do I call you at that time? If I say I'm gonna shoot something over to you, do I get it to you in that timely manner? That's how trust is built. So you're absolutely in the right place if you wanna learn how to market your service-based business differently. And you want to know 3 things that, and I'm going to say event pros and speakers that are holding most of us back. I'm also going to talk to you about a daily practice that will keep you with an endless stream of clients and also how to take those marketing strategies and create a good marketing plan. So one of the approaches that I see that does not work is what I call the let's see what sticks approach. Has anyone experienced that before? What is it? What's usually involved in let's see what sticks approach?
You do a bunch of things and see if anything pans out.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna go on, post on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm gonna do a blog post and I'm not doing anything of it consistently. I'm gonna start a podcast and I got 5 episodes in a year. You don't have anything that you're measuring to know whether or not it's working. And if you haven't already invested in one, there's actually free ones you can get. I think like HubSpot has one, but I would definitely recommend to get a CRM system. And a CRM system is short for a customer relationship management system. I use SpeakerFlow, which is done through the Zoho platform. And what it allows me to do is track my progress. So I know when I've done outreach with clients, I can know where they are in the sales cycle and the sales process. I can know why I lost a gig. I can tell you how much revenue I have coming in. And even if you're not fully speaking where you want to be yet, get in the habit of tracking that information. Because so I'll give you a great example. I just had a client call in, they had canceled, they had had me place a hold, had actually given me a deposit for a gig. COVID happened and everything was on hold. And then their executive director, she left the company. They didn't even have the contract that I gave them or that I gave her. And so thank God I had my CRM system, because I went back in and I was able to look at all of my notes. I had the contract right there. I had all the conversations, but it allowed me to be able to track the progress for that particular engagement. Now that happens on the back end. At least on the front end, I know who I've been in front of. When do I need to touch them again? And the marketing research tells us on average, in order to get a customer to buy, and this was even what I call old school research, is 5 to 7 touches. So how often are you standing in front of them? I would say now in this virtual environment, it's probably up to 20, depending on if that person is part of your target. And when I say by touches is email, phone calls, sending them articles, just a way so that you stay top of mind. And with that, the research of it takes 5 to 7 touches before you get someone to buy. Most people give up at guess what number?
3.
3 or 4. And they're just like 1 or 2 steps away. If I just done one more outreach, if I just sent one more article, I sent one more, hey, I thought this would be helpful for you. And when I say touch, it doesn't always have to mean I'm asking you to hire me. I just want to stay. I want you to think about me. So is there an article I can send you based on something we've talked about? I mentioned nothing about hiring me. Can I send you a gift card? Like I'm always sending people $5 Starbucks gift cards. Let's get a virtual coffee together. By the way, it's a great tip to have them actually show up to a meeting because they feel bad because, oh, she bought me coffee, so I gotta show up. Carol bought me coffee and that's why I show up to hang out with her. Hey, Carol. All right, so that's one area that I see people make a misstep. The other is not setting clear and specific goals. So Gerald, you talked about being intentional. Even if you're just getting started, I would be very clear about who your target market is and what tactics you want and strategies do you want to take to reach them. Because if you don't set a destination, how do you know if you get there? And so Marge, for you, it may be 5 engagements for the year. And so what does it take for me to get those 5?
Yeah.
And being very thoughtful about that. For Amy, I know you just set some goals for yourself. I like to reverse engineer it and think through, if this is the end result of what I want, what steps do I have to take in order for that to happen? And part of it is you don't know what you don't know. So you actually have to go through it. You have to have these conversations. You got to know where people are in the process. You want to know what your cycle time is, which means from the time a customer or either you do outreach or they reach out to you until the very end where either they say yes or no, how long does that take? That's also going to help when you run your business to know what kind of cash flow you're going to have. Because that's one thing that we don't often talk about in business is cash flow is a real deal. Because you could get an influx of cash and then you don't see anything for a while. So how do you keep that consistent in your business? And then the third thing that I think a lot of folks make a misstep on when it comes to marketing is they're focusing in on tactics and not a strategy. So can anyone tell me the difference between what a tactic is versus a strategy? What do you think is the difference?
I think of a strategy as a sort of comprehensive plan, and the tactics are individual things to do to get to that goal or outcome.
Marge, I couldn't have said it better myself. A strategy is really just a high-level game plan on how you're going to reach your target audience and how to engage them to achieve your goals, right? And the goal might be control of a specific market, right? Or to grow and expand this part of your business. The marketing tactics are the activities that you use to execute your strategy. And so what I see a lot of people do, they do a lot of tactics, but it's not linked to a strategy that they have. I'll give you an example outside of the speaking industry. So who's familiar with Church and Dwight Inc.? Does that ring a bell for anybody? Church and Dwight Inc. You might know them better as the owners of Arm & Hammer baking soda, right? And so they knew that Arm & Hammer, it was a point in their business where their sales started to slip. And the market research showed that loyal moms and grandmothers who had been buying Arm & Hammer for all of their lives weren't baking as much as they used to. So baking soda as a baking ingredient was never going to get Arm & Hammer the growth that they needed. And so their goal, and they were very clear about this, was to turn the tide and increase their baking soda sales. Pretty simple, right? And their strategy, so you got the goal, then you have the strategy was to devise new reasons for people to use baking soda. And so they had to expand their customer market more than just avid bakers. Someone had to sell the idea that you could use Arm & Hammer as a deodorizer for a fridge, And so they took this idea and completely went in a different direction. So they started looking at common household practices, but they had never really marketed their business in that way, but that was the goal. And so it's interesting, as I was found this case study, I was like, I've never even used Arm & Hammer for bacon. I've only used it in my refrigerator. But it goes to show you they got very clear about what was the goal and then the strategy, and then they created their tactics to help them reach that strategy. And so some of their tactics would be, they were using advertising and magazine ads and digital advertising, search engine optimization and content marketing and retail. So they knew, okay, based on the strategy I have, these are the things that are going to help us get there. And that's what I would encourage you to think about when it comes to your business. And I'm going to give you actually 6 strategies that you can use, especially when it comes to speaking and in the professional services world. And by the way, this could be, when I say professional services, like real estate agents use this, coaches use this, psychologists use this. It's because you're marketing your service a little bit differently. All right, so what do you, when I say the term marketing, what do you think about, how would you describe marketing in its simplest form?
Some media that gives people the product and value your product.
And I lost you a little bit, Gerald. I'm sorry, you're breaking up just a bit. Can you put it in the chat box for me?
Again.
Okay. Well, Gerald's putting it. Anybody else want to take a stab at it? What do you define as marketing?
Well, I always think of sales when I think of marketing, but promoting, I guess, advertising, I think of.
Mm-hmm. That advertising is definitely a form. It's actually a tactic of marketing, or can be. And I would say sales and marketing definitely complement each other, but they're two very different things. Sales is about actually landing the engagement, and marketing, and let's see what Gerald said. I'm pulling up the chat boxes. Promo information that shows the value of your product. And I would, Gerald, that's actually a form of it, but I would even make it even simpler than that. Marketing is really telling people what you do over and over and over again in different ways so that you become top of mind. And that's the simplest definition of marketing I can give you. And I will tell you the secret to a successful speaking business is to choose a set of simple and effective things and do them consistently. There's no magic pill to this, right? There's no like, hey, if you do this one thing, but if you do this one thing consistently and you know how to track it and you know how to monitor or measure it, then you'll have some success in that space. And so here is the 6 effective marketing strategies that you can use for speaking. And we're going to do a deep dive into those in a bit. And if you notice on the screen, we go from most effective to least effective. And most effective is what we call direct contact and follow-up. So I know Amy mentioned, hey, I've gotten some referrals and people have sent me, they've seen me speak, or I've done some outreach for folks. And I've been networking as a part of, well, we'll get to networking in a minute, but direct contact and follow-up is just, hey, I'm picking up the phone, sharing with you what I have. Number 2 is networking and referral building, whether it's in a virtual environment or when pre-COVID, when we're able to meet people in person. How am I going to networking events where my clients will show up? And referral building, do I have a specific referral program? I actually have a referral program with one of my mastermind buddies. And the way we developed it is she speaks on resiliency and change. I do like some communication and leadership things. And so when I'm having my after the event conversation with a client, and I'll ask them, hey, have you thought about your speaker, especially if it's a conference, have you thought about your speaker for next year? Well, let me tell you a little bit about my colleague, Kim. She does things on resiliency and change. She might be a really good fit for you. Kim has already created a little email blurb for me that introduces herself. And if the client sounds remotely interested, then I'll say, hey, let me make a quick introduction. All I literally do is copy and paste that blurb that Kim wrote, and I CC her on it. And in my subject line, it says, introductions are in order. Kim meet Amy, Amy meet Kim, and I'll do a little bit of information about Amy as the client. I may link to her her LinkedIn profile so that Kim has the background on it, and also the conference information. And then I give Kim's little blurb, and I'll say, I'll let you two take it from here. And so that's part of our referral process for each other. So she'll do the same thing for me because it's that complimentary service. I'm also really thoughtful about when I build a proposal for a client, I let them know the other things that I can do that are outside of that. And I'll often say to them, hey, do you know, and I'll use like a little joke, for all intent purposes, after I step off the stage, I'm unemployed. So referrals are a really great way for me to grow my business. Do you know of any other organizations like yours, or I'll even give something specific like other conferences that focus on women that I would be a great fit for. And what I will tell you is the more specific you can be about what you're looking for, the more likely you are to make that link and connection. It's like if someone said to you, hey, can you give me a restaurant recommendation? And you're like, geez, there's so many different restaurants. But if you specifically said, can you give me a white table linen steak house recommendation? You're going to narrow down your list because you're going to think about all the steakhouses that you know. And in your brain for that person, it's going to make it so much easier for them to make that connection for you. Number 3 is public speaking. So interestingly enough, depending on whatever how you want to, what model you want to use for your business, I've known some people to do what we call no fee, like intros, like as an example, Amy, your webinars or virtual programming would fall in that public speaking, where I'm using speaking to bring people into my funnel. And then I'm selling them something else on the back end, right? It could be coaching, it could be other engagements, it could be longer virtual programs. So I'm giving them a taste and they're using that. I've had real estate agents do that. So they'll do like an event where they'll say the 10 buy-in secrets to having to successfully selling your house in any market. And they're doing that as a way to bring people in. And then that's how they're getting clients. Number 4 is writing and publicity. So this could be blog articles. This could be a vlog, so video work that you're doing. Are you writing who's heard of HERO, Help a Reporter Out? So Help a Reporter Out is where different news outlets like NBC, ABC, it could also be Huffington Post or BuzzFeed. They're looking for people to either comment and be an expert in that space. And they may say, hey, we're looking for someone to comment on the current climate with the election, right? So, hey, this is our first woman vice president, and we're looking for people to give us expertise about how to leverage being a woman, being the first woman to do something. I don't know, I'm making something up, but they're looking for you to write an article about that. That's going to get you in front of people. So that's how, if you ever watch like the news and they're saying, hey, next we have Amy Forehand from Amy Forehand Enterprises, who's going to talk to us today about her book, the Change Process 101. And she's going to share with us 3 tips on how to walk through change. Amy may have gotten a note or saw a clip coming from HERO, and they're saying they're looking for an expert in change management. And she raises her hand and gets in front of them, and then they want to interview her. That's another way for you to get that visibility and credibility. Number 5 is promotional events. So this could be where you host your own like seminar or what have you. What you'll notice though is as you get deeper into this part of these part of the strategies, they're not as effective from a marketing standpoint, and you're getting visibility, but you're not seeing much else from that. And then lastly is advertising. And so I need everybody to raise their right hand for me. I need you to repeat after me. Mimi.
Mimi.
I promise.
I promise.
I will never, ever, ever.
I will never, ever, ever.
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 Do an advertising piece.
Do an advertising piece.
And not have a way to track it.
And not have a way to track it.
So you're like, what did I just agree to? Well, what we know is advertising is one of the least effective marketing strategies. And what I mean by advertising is someone calls you from your church and says, hey, Gerald, and Gerald, you can put your hand down. She might be frozen. Hey, Gerald. Hey, I know you own a business, you do some speaking and training things. Will you just place an ad inside of our church bulletin? And you're like, sure, it's $25. I'd be happy to. And that's just $25 that Gerald just threw up in the air, right? Because she doesn't, unless Gerald has put, is intentional about a few things. One is that her target market? Are her people, is that where they show up? Number two is, how is she going to track it to know if it's successful? So one of the ways you can do that is maybe you buy a vanity site that if the ad says, looking for ways to stay out of jail with ADA, call Gerald today and go to ADA, getoutofadajail.com. So that particular vanity URL, Gerald has already on the back end of that site, she has Google Analytics to know how often people have visited. And if they go, she has a landing page where they enter their information. And on her landing page, it may say, how did you find out about us? Or Gerald might use just that vanity URL only for that piece of advertising. She shows anybody goes to that website that it's come from that form of advertising. As you can see, it's one of the least effective, but if you're going to do it in a way that you can track it. Another way you can track it is maybe you put another, call this number. And I've seen people leave, they listen to a message that gives them a next step. Something where you know whether or not this is working. And the only way to find out if it's working is to put a tracking mechanism in place. Has anyone else seen any other advertising that folks have used that strategy before?
I think when you see like a click on a Facebook ad, they want your email address and first name before they go further and give you their information.
Correct. And probably through that Facebook ad on the back end of it is some form of analytics so they know where you came in from. Right. So when Amy is doing her virtual webinars, there should be a tracking system that she has in place so that she knows how they found out about her. That's actually one of my favorite questions to ask when a client does call in. How'd you find out about me? And people say, I've Googled you. And then I'll ask, what specifically did you Google? Because I want to know, do I need to go and do something with some SEO keywords, or do I need to do more in that, add more in that space? And maybe they found me on a blog article I wrote, or they saw me speak somewhere else. So I want to know, because that's working and I want to do more of that. Does that make sense? All right, so why should you have a marketing system? Well, a marketing system is reliable, it's predictable, it's consistent, it's affordable and efficient, and it provides you a lot of folks that are what we call your perfect fit prospects, clients, and customers. You want them, they raise their hands when you speak. They're like, oh, she's speaking right to me. She knows what my challenges and what my issues are. And so what works to help you market your business? Well, we know that referrals, networking, making contacts, following up, word of mouth, those are the things that work. What things that don't work are buying generic ads and letters and emails to strangers, or sitting on, and a lot of speakers will do this, they'll go get added to a speaker directory list and just kind of sit by the phone and wait. Marketing is a contact sport. It's putting yourself out there. It's doing the same thing over and over again. And it's also just not building a website saying, hey, I have put my stake in the ground. Your website is definitely important, but it's not the end all be all. I've actually known people to grow and start their speaking business with no website. And simply because they got out there. They may have put through a couple videos on YouTube so people could see them in action. They had a one sheet they created and they hit the pavement. Because it's, once again, it's telling people where you are or what you do over and over again. So I want you to think for a moment in your business, where are you stuck when it comes to your marketing? What's not working for you? Where are you getting some resistance? And if you're not really sure about what that is or where that is, I'm going to show you the universal marketing cycle, because there's 4 areas that we really find where people get stuck. And so first is, and you'll see that on your handout that you have, is filling the pipeline. So that's actually knowing enough people to contact. So who's in the start of that funnel. The second is following up. So contacting people that are already within that funnel. Number 3 is having those sales conversations. So going from the follow-up conversation where they know who I am, they know what services they offer, I believe that I'm a match, to actually getting in front of them to do what I call get ready to close the deal. And then closing the deal is going from the conversation to the sale piece where I have an agreement in hand. So 2 things. One is, it is not a contract, it is an agreement. Contract has a lot of legalese to it. It feels like very lawyerly. You're like, oh, I got to sign a contract, versus I just want you to initial an agreement. One of my favorite books on sales, and I'm looking for it really quick, whether or not you're selling a widget or a cup of coffee or professional services. I love this book. It's called How to Master the Art of Selling by Tom Hopkins. You can see I have beat this thing to, beat it up because I use it a lot. And one of the things that I like in Tom Hopkins' book is he talks about specific words to get in and out of your vocabulary. And so he'll say a rejection word is any term that triggers fear or reminds prospects that you're trying to sell to them. You want to get them out of that mind frame. So we replaced the word appointment with meeting or visit. We replaced the word like follow up with a check-in. When I get the word cost or price out of my vocabulary, it is an investment because they're making an investment in their company. We want to use value, or I'm making an offer available. When it comes to contract, instead of contract, it's the agreement, it's the paperwork, or it's the form. People hate to buy, but they love to own. So it's all about having them take ownership over something. And those are words that I've learned to use over time. And it's made a difference in how people receive it. So we've talked about the 4 areas of that marketing cycle. And what I want you to notice is, and I'm going to blow this up a bit, so bear with me for a moment, but I want you to notice when you look at this, the universal marketing cycle, if we start at the very top, right? So I'm attracting prospects, I'm making contacts, I'm gathering leads, I'm collecting referrals, I'm filling that pipeline. Then it moves into the following up, right? And then after following up, it can go into different areas. So having sales conversations, getting referrals, or closing sales. When you look at this loop or this process, what do you notice about it? What do you notice about the ending of this process specifically?
It's all about
Everything goes back to follow-up.
Thank you, Gerald. Oh my God, if I could give you like a hug right now, I would. Socially distance hug, of course. But yes, it doesn't end. It keeps going. And that's the same thing when you want to think about your marketing is, just because a client says no right now doesn't mean that's no forever. I had a woman who we've probably had conversations for the past like 4 or 5 years. She saw me speak and she's like, I'm going to find a place for you. And she finally did. But she stayed in my cycle. She stayed in that pipeline. And I will tell you, one of the ways is, one of the strategies is doing direct follow-up with people. So do I have like an email list that she's a part of? She's still hearing my name. Is she seeing posts on Facebook? That way you stay top of mind. So I want you to think for a moment, and you can throw it inside the chat box. What's one area where you feel like you are stuck in your business? Is it the filling the pipeline, knowing enough people to contact? Is it following up? So contacting people that you already know or know about you? Is it having those sales conversations? So getting from the follow-up to the conversation? Or is it closing the sale, getting from conversation to the closing the deal?
Maybe I'll go. I think for me, it's the latter part of it. And I actually just started a sales training session just to get some fundamentals. I joke with people that in my career, I grew up in a company that not only did I never have a sales associated role, but I worked for a company that didn't even have a sales department.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even a competency in the organization I worked in. So it was it's just something that I have absolutely no knowledge or experience with. So I'm backing up and getting some very fundamentals. And I think that's really going to help me. And it already has. I mean, I had my first session this week and I had a call 2 hours after, and I was able to immediately apply and have a much better, initial just first conversation with somebody who was looking for a solution. So that's where I'm focusing right now, because I think I have enough leads. I'm just not turning them into anything.
Yeah, and Amy, I think that's such a good move to make. Sales is a skill, and a lot of people are kind of fearful of it, or we have a preconceived file about it. Oh, salespeople, what do you think when you think of sales? Or the big belly sales guy who's trying to sell you a lemon on the car lot. We're in sales every day of our lives. If you have kids, you're trying to sell them on why they need to eat their vegetables or go to bed on time. If you have a spouse, why they need to buy you that brand new, beautiful handbag. But we're often in sales, and especially in the speaking industry, our ability to know how to create that value for people, but convey that value is so vital and so important. And that's why like marketing and sales go one-to-one, because I'm going out there telling people what I do, but I also got to be able to close the deal. So once I've told you and you're interested, the next step is I got to close the deal. It reminds me, I used to be a sales coach when I worked at Consumers, and I was sitting side by side with this gal who was selling appliance service plan program, which is insurance for your appliances. And she had done everything the right way. She had followed the whole sales process, had made an offer to the customer, gave her all the benefits, overcame objections. And so I'm wondering, like, I'm waiting for her to close the deal, and she's like stuck. And so I don't want the customer to hear me. So I grab a piece of paper really quick and I write on it and I say, read this. And it says, do you want to place it on a credit or debit card? And she reads it, and the lady was like, I'll put it on my Discover, thank you. And I like, oh, and then she just, the rep got this big grin on her face because she was just needing to close the deal, but she needed the words to be able to do it. And it's knowing how to transition into that and knowing even how to do it very elegantly, right? So one of your jobs, and this is kind of aside from the marketing piece, but when you are on having that phone call with that client, is knowing what's the next step. So if I have a discovery call with a client, typically my next step is, especially if it's a committee that's making the decision, hey, Trudy, it was really great to chat with you. So glad that we figured out what program would work best. Here's what I'm thinking as a next step. I'm going to send you out the proposal. I'll get it to you by Friday. And then let's go ahead and set up a phone call to review it. And then that way, if anyone has questions when you present it to the committee, I'm happy to answer those for you. And so you see how I've led her down the pathway, because I'm the leader in that conversation. And she's like, okay, great. Because you should never get off one phone call without having that next step planned already. And you always want to have that next phone call, even if it's a check-in phone call or what have you, you want to be on that person's calendar. And that's part of your, when you think about like your sales conversations, Amy, like that will help you get from having it to closing it. Because then it dangles if that person, if you don't have a follow-up piece there. And I'm sure they talked about that in your sales class. So here's the other thing I want you to consider. So Pam sent this over to you. And my gift to you today is I'm actually going to gift you the book, Get Clients. I'm a big fan of it. And I just need everyone to shoot me their address, and you'll get it through Amazon. But it's going to give you all of the marketing strategies or the tactics that go along with these strategies. And so when you look at the action worksheet, you'll notice what strategies will you use. So it'll say direct contact, networking, public speaking, writing, promotional events, and advertising. We're going to encourage you to use 2. So I'm going to come back to Marge and Gerald really quick. Where are you stuck in your process?
Well, I haven't even thought about marketing anything, but if I, when I start, I think I have a lot of people that I know in terms of contacting. So I would probably be stuck at contacting them.
Right. The
following up part.
Okay, so it's not the fill in the pipeline, but it's the second piece for you, right?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I think I can begin filling the pipeline, but I'd have to do more work in that too.
Got it. And typically what we find is the strategies that you use, depending on where you stuck, like filling the pipeline and following up, they have similar strategies for those, and then you would choose the tactics. So, okay, so good stuff, Mark. So what about for you, Gerald? Where are you stuck?
So I can that is good. But I talk to people, I get much, and I'm referring to another business because I know I do things. It's going to talk.
Gerald, I'm totally like
anyway.
I'm sorry, you're going in and out. Try to turn your video off really quick and see if that.
Okay.
Oh, yep, that's a little.
Can you hear me then?
Yep.
Okay. So I can talk to people and get the interest. I do it every day just because I love my topic. Follow up, I think it's a little harder. I think I have to be more discerning with who I put in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And then I definitely have trouble getting conversation to close. That is, so I'm a little all over the place on this process. I used to get people to do, but I couldn't close very much. I said people waited. So that was.
And I would say if you are challenged with, like, you're stuck in multiple places, I would start at the front. Because then if you start with filling the pipeline, then you can follow the progression of, then I'm following up, then I'm having sales conversations. And so what we do is when you look at your worksheet in front of you, you'll determine, okay, based on where I'm stuck, that's going to guide what strategies I'm going to use. I think this is actually done a little bit backwards in my opinion, because really it should be where are you stuck first and then the strategy piece. But so in Marge's case, in Gerald's case, if you're stuck in filling the pipeline, more than likely direct contact and follow-up and networking and referral building are going to be 2 of your best strategies to use. Promotional events and advertising, not as much. Public speaking and writing, if you enjoy, like I was going to say, like for writing and publicity, if you enjoy them. And I often encourage people, use strategies that you like. If you don't like to write, don't do the writing and publicity piece, because it's going to be like a punishment, versus you're like, I enjoy actually doing that writing piece. And so the next piece is, we ask you, once you determine where you're stuck and you choose the strategies, it's what 2 or 3 things are you going to choose this month? And I actually recommend you stay to 2, because once you go in you find out what are the buckets, what are the tactics within direct contact and follow-up or networking or referral building. They give you lots of options. It's probably 50 different things that you can do within that particular strategy. And so as an example, let's say I choose networking and referral building. I may say something like, I need to go to one networking event each week and give 5 people my business card. So the networking and referral building, that's the strategy. Giving people my business card and going to the actual event is the tactic that's a part of that. And I'm going to choose, once I look at those tactics, and I'm going to go back to your worksheet really quick, is those are going to be the daily actions that I take. So I'm going to select where I'm stuck and then look through what are those strategies that I want to use. The next thing I want to identify, and this is really important, and I don't think people spend enough time here, and that's the next 3 questions. How much business do you have now? How much business do you really want? And how are you going to get there? Now, I will tell you that the way that this program, Get Clients Now, is designed, it's a 28-day marketing system, meaning that in 28 days, if you follow the structure of the program, you should see an increase in the amount of marketing recognition that you get in sales. It works really well, by the way, in a group setting. So if you decided with the folks that are within this cohort that you wanted to try this, you could do the 28-day marketing program, and they walk you through it in a book. So like I said, I'm going to send that to you as a gift from me, but it'll walk you through kind of step by step. So I'll ask all of you really quick, how much business, and actually, I won't ask you how much business you have now, that's for you to know. How much business do you really want? And you have to decide what that looks like. Is it the amount of speaking engagements or training, the amount of, maybe you're doing coaching and consulting? Is it the amount of hours that you work? Is it the amount of days? Like, you've got to decide what that looks like. So can anyone answer, like, how many gigs do you really want? Or how much business do you really want? What would be ideal for you?
I have that identified for myself. I have a target for just my work-life balance of 20 hours a week is where I want to land in terms of working. But I have found myself exceeding that in recent months because I'm figuring out this marketing and sales thing. But I know I'm upskilling right now. So once I get my process in place, I'll be able to ramp back down on that a little bit. But I have I have revenue targets that I've set for the year. And then I've identified, I want so much of it to come from training engagements. I want so much of it to come from, keynotes. I have part of my business is, I call it aspirational around employeeship, where I want that to be something that in 5 years, everybody knows what that is. And so I've got this like keynote employeeship progression over the next 5 years that, that kind of shifts. And so I have, training facilitation, I've got these grow sessions, and then my employeeship ramp up. So I've got it kind of chunked out that way is how
that's a solid plan. And
I will say I'm not as structured as I know I can be in terms of connecting how I'm spending my day to getting to those goals. And I told somebody just last week, like, I used to be much more disciplined in my time because I think when I stopped working, I shed all of my discipline because I was just done. And I was like, okay, I don't need to be structured, and I hate being structured. And now I'm having to build that back up and reinstitute some of those muscles that
it happens because you're like, freedom, and then you're like, oh crap, I gotta go back.
And so, I'm having to dust off some of that old, high D Amy that I used to have.
Okay. But it sounds like from a business standpoint, you've gotten very clear about where you want your marketing to come, where you want your business to come from. And I also really enjoyed how you incorporated your family into that, because when you are in business for yourself, you have the freedom to create your own schedule, but sometimes we're our worst bosses. My boss was really mean to me. She's kind of a, because I would I was working 16, 17, 18 hours out the day, and I wasn't giving myself any room. But the whole point was so that I could have freedom to do the other things. And you want to be very intentional. Hey, 20 hours a week, the rest of the time is for my family. So I think that's important as you think about your goals.
Yeah.
And that's why it says, how much business do you really want? Because we'll say, hey, I want, 100 speaking engagements. Do you really?
Yeah. And my rub is like I call it my working. I think I've shared it with this group. My working is I call it my shoe and purse fund, because that's what we gave up when we gave up my my salary. And in my desire to have a new kitchen doesn't match my 28-hour-a-week goal right now. And so that is at odds right now in my head. So
also, Amy, that also
reconciling.
I might have to go up on my feet, because that's another thing is, hey, I want to keep the same amount of hours, then I have to create more value so that I can.
Yeah, I know. And there's this rub and impatience on ramping up, getting my fees established, and looking at my ugly kitchen.
You'll get there. So the last thing I want to ask you, when you think about your process, is what would that get you? And I think it's important from a mindset standpoint to say, this is how much business I have now. This is how much I really want. What is that going to get me? And it's not always something that's tangible. It could give me peace of mind, right? It could get me, in Amy's case, the kitchen that I want, or it gets me to a place in my business where I'd like to be. And once again, you don't have to answer these questions now. This is for you to do after this session, but just kind of noodle on it. The other thing is, Amy, I know you talked about 5 years from now. Really, this is like, and typically it says 28 days. I like to think of it as more like 6 weeks, gives you enough kind of wiggle room. But what's the program goal? So by the end of this, say I do this cycle in 6 weeks, what do I want to have landed? Is it one speaking engagement? Is it one consulting client? Is it having so much in the pipeline? And then lastly is, what does that reward look like? So if I reward myself, and you want to give yourself something specific and tangible that's related to this goal, only that you'll get for that. So it could be that new handbag that you want, or maybe there's a business purchase. Like when I first did this program, I wanted to invest in a coach. And so that was my reward for making it through the program. Really quick, the next piece is what we call success ingredients. And success ingredients are tools or information or skills that will successfully address the area of marketing where you determine where you're stuck. So what we mean by that is, let's say that I know I'm stuck in filling the pipeline, and I've decided that the strategy I'm going to use is networking and referral building. And this will be all laid out for you in the book, by the way. But I determine that area where I'm stuck is, or that the strategy I'm going to use is networking and referral building. Well, when I'm going out and I'm networking with people, I got to have what I call my 10-second commercial. People have to know, back to our bumper sticker piece, like, what do you do? What problem do you solve for people? Maybe I need to go get business cards created. What are the things that are going to help me move through that particular area that I'm stuck, that are outside of the actual tactics that I need to institute? Because going to the networking event is a tactic, but if I go to the networking event and I don't have my elevator pitch or my 10-second commercial, and I don't have business cards, I'm probably not going to be very successful. So those are the tools. So it'll outline that for you in the book as well. And so what you do is you go back to your action sheet and you write, here are the success ingredients, the 3 success ingredients that I need that are going to help me in the area that I'm stuck. And you give yourself a target date within that 6 weeks. Lastly are the daily actions that you take. And so the daily actions are things that are the actual tactics that are within the strategy area that I want to focus on. And these are things, and I like to say daily actions can be a bit, it might be a weekly action that I take, because in a perfect world, you would, for the next 6 weeks, 28 days to 6 weeks, you would do these things consistently every day, right? But we also know life happens. Amy's working 20 hours a week. Is she going to do these things daily? No, maybe they're weekly actions that she takes. And these are the things that are going to help you build. And so some examples of some of those daily actions could be, I'm going to look up 10 networking events to go to and send notes to them and get 5 of them on my schedule. Another daily or weekly action could be, I'm going to identify or write out who my target market is. Actually, that's more of a success ingredient. but that would be a target market would be an example of a success ingredient. Daily action could be, I'm going to commit to making 5 follow-up phone calls a week to potential clients, because that's the people that are filling that pipeline. And what you do is you have this in front of you, and I'll show you the other document that Pam sent you. This is your tracking worksheet. So the tracking worksheet says, what percentage of my success ingredients have I gotten done? And then what daily actions have I completed, and daily or weekly? And I'm going to put a yes or a no. The last couple other things you'll see on the sheet is a weather report. And this is usually typically helpful if you're doing this in a group environment. But the weather report is, how am I feeling here? And how's my body feeling? And it's on a scale of 1 to 10. Because you just want to do a check-in. Maybe today wasn't a good day because the kids gave me the flux and I didn't get my workout in. Or maybe it was a really great day because I went out for a walk and I got 3 miles in and I was able to clear my head and body. The last one is special permission, and you'll see that at the very bottom. And your special permission are things that typically get in your way that may stop you. So things when you say, I don't have the time, or I don't know what I'm doing. And so you want to turn those around. You might say, I give myself special permission to make mistakes. I give myself permission to give myself grace through this process. It's thinking through what's the one thing that may stop me where, and I want to encourage progression in that space. And it's one thing. For me, it was my special permission was I don't have to have all the answers, because I felt like I needed everything to be perfect. And through marketing, it's a ebb and flow. It's a cause and effect. It's a try something. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you always learn something after it. Couple other things as we get ready to put a bow on this message today, as you're putting this all together, it doesn't matter what you choose as so much as that you actually choose something and you actually do something as a part of this process. Consistency and persistence will pay off far better than the occasional, oh, that's a great marketing idea. Let me go out and do a 10 video production, and you don't do anything else with it. And the best way to stick to a plan is to share it with people. So having that accountability. I've had accountability partners. Greg Peters is one of mine. And then I have a mastermind, Kim and Shauna. And I will tell you, I would not have made it where I am without having them, because they are very good about, and Greg's favorite term is, what's going to be different next time, Mimi? Shut up, Greg. So that's the internal conversation I have with Greg in my head. But it's helpful, and I love him for it, because it holds me, he always holds me to my highest good. So who's that person for you, or people, your folks that can do that for you? Last thing, and I promise this to you, the one thing you can do every day in your business to bring cash in is do what I call MMA, which are money-making activities. Money-making activities are things that are directly going to bring cash into your business. Things like doing outreach for folks, sending out an invoice. And let me say this, let me get my soapbox about invoices when you're first starting in agreements. Even if you're speaking for no fee, every client should get an invoice and every client should get a speaking agreement, because you want to get in the habit of doing those when you're actually getting the dollars. But it also creates this level and this perception of business acumen and confidence in that you're really doing this, right? This is a real thing. So Margie, even though you're just getting started and maybe you're doing these things for the abstract piece, like send them an agreement. These are the things, and all it's saying is this is what we agreed to. The other nice part about the invoice and the agreement is you can put what your actual fee is. Even if you're speaking for no fee, you can discount it out. So that next time if they go back and say, well, how much does Marge charge? And oh, Marge is easily in 5 figures. They see it on the form and you have it as a way to identify that. And people actually, they absolutely take you seriously. So I'm here as a resource for you. I'm a big fan of doing the work, like just getting it started. As Eleni Kalako says, don't get ready to get ready, do it, like put the pedal to the metal kind of thing. And so I'll leave you with this. I learned that trees never stop growing. Even after they're cut, the rings within their bark continue to grow. And I want you to think of yourselves like trees. Continue to challenge yourself and continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mimi.
Thanks, Mimi.
Thank you, Mimi. That was great. Lots of good nuggets, tons of good nuggets in there. And of course, what's really makes this special is while it's a program you're certified to teach, I know you've done it.
Yeah.
And so this is not a theorist coming to us to say, here are some things you might want to try. I don't know anything about them. So this is somebody again who came to NSA saying, hey, I'd like to do more with speaking, and built her own business this way. I'd also like to note that, unless I missed it, Mimi, that she's talking about Greg Peters, that's NSA Michigan's Greg Peters, who was one of her academy classmates.
Yes, we were in the same class.
Yes, so it's really interesting. So whether you connect with each other or you find your people through the chapter or any place else here, really, really good information. So again, we appreciate your generosity with the gift that you'll be sending out, Mimi. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And remember, you can look a little bit more at specifically at Mimi speaking in case you think of a referral for her, or just to stay in touch with her. So it's, am I correct, Mimi? Hey, Mimi Brown.
Yep, so you can do, actually the website is ampupsuccess.com, but and I'll send you my my email address too.
Thank you for that.
You got it. And just do me a favor, if everyone could, Pam, I don't know how you want to do this piece. You want everyone to send you their address or their mailing address, and then you'll send it over to me. Is that the easiest way to do it?
That would be fine.
Okay, yeah. So you'll get a copy. I think it's the 3rd edition of Get Clients Now. It'll come in from Amazon for you, but I have mine and it has been dog-eared and highlighted. It's a really great resource, and it'll walk you all the things that we talked about in today's program will be very familiar for you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Mimi.
My pleasure. Have a great day, everyone. You were able to treat with Carol. I've worked with her one-on-one.
Okay. So Mimi's likely going to be signing off. I know she has another engagement today, and I see Carol has popped on, so I see her video. Let's do this. Let's take a break. So bio break and just get up and walk around, get your brains clear, and we'll come back again. Let's do 9 minutes from now. So at 10:57 or whatever 9 minutes is on your clock, we will come back and we'll start with Carol Eckerly, Image Impact. Looking forward to it. So I'll see you in 9 minutes. And welcome back to the second half of our Academy session today. Helping others shine is Carol Eckerly's passion, and this Michigan native puts those around her at ease with her frank and fun communication style. Her love for sharing positive insights about first impressions, professional image, and personal brandings has led her to become a sought-after corporate speaker and personal brand and image consultant. With a business background in management, marketing, and sales, Carol's a pro at stoking a fire within her audiences and private clients. An advocate for confidence, Carol guides individuals through an exploration of what makes them unique while empowering, educating, and encouraging them through her image impact branding programs, a powerhouse of combination of professional image and professional brand. So we're so excited to have you here today, Carol. Please help me welcome with NSA Academy spirit, Carol Eckerly.
Woo, thanks everybody. It's so fun to be here with everybody. Everybody is familiar to me, so that's pretty fun. Margaret, I'm not sure that you and I have spent time together before. So
No.
Nice to meet you. Gerald and I have spent time together, and Amy, of course, and Marilyn and Pam. So anyway, thank you very much for asking me to come in, and really to tap off of and to continue on the conversation of marketing. you really are your best marketing tool. And, it's really interesting because people spend a lot of time, gaining the knowledge and the education and the experience to make them an expert. But what we forget to do sometimes is appear to be the expert. And when it comes to first impressions, that's a make it or break it situation for you. So as you're putting everything together, don't forget about yourself. And as a speaker, there are two main things that are happening. People can see you and people can hear you. And that is about it. We don't wear a resume around our neck on stage. We don't come with, all of our experiences beforehand. Sometimes we have a nice introduction. But the other part of this is that before you even get the opportunity to get on the stage, people are exploring who you are and they are Googling who you are. So where it used to be first impressions, we're really concerned about them simply in person. Now it's a whole digital presence that you have got to manage and you have to have. And that's, again, that's a make it or break it piece. So I'm going to walk you through a couple different things today. I want to talk about the importance of visible credibility, and visible credibility, not only again in person, but in photos and online and in video. So we're going to get into those things, but I want to spend a little bit of time, first of all, going through an exercise and having you guys choose how you're hoping to be perceived. Are you guys ready? All right. Do I have access to share my screen, Pam? And also, everybody, I want this to be interactive, so feel free to jump in if there's questions, flag me down, whatever. This is a small little pot of us. I want to make sure that I'm giving you the information that you really want to have and need, okay? All right, so let me share this with y'all. Okay, can you see that? Perfect, okay. So your image really isn't what you think of you, it's what others think of you. So perception really lies within the audience, and everybody's perception is different. What you have the ability to do is try to control your silent message as well as you can, right? You can't control what people think of you ultimately, but you can certainly take that story that you're trying to tell and give clues and clues and clues so that people hopefully are viewing you the way that you want to be seen. Okay, and this slide is like, it's not about perfection, and people get bogged down in that. It really is not about perfection. It's about being believable. So if you want people to think that you're creative, you have got to show up looking creative or you're not believable. And that's where sometimes we get in our own way. And, you have to think of this too. This isn't about what you were 10 years ago or 2 years ago. It's about now. It's about the goals that you have now, what you want to accomplish now, and who you are now. And, I hear so many times, oh, I just want to lose a little weight before I take my do my photo shoot, or, you know what, I used to wear this beret all the time and I still want to wear this beret. Well, first of all, the word beret doesn't come out of people's mouths very often in 2021 at all. And it may be that you have to shift a little bit so that you are looked at as believable, up to date, and relevant. You have to remember those things, okay? All right, this is a little experiment that I want to run with you all. So I'm going to ask you guys to go ahead and use the chat box. And I would love to hear, what is the first word, the first adjective that came to mind when you saw this woman pop on your screen? And Pam, if you can read off those when they pop up, that would be fantastic.
Will do.
First adjective, so a descriptor.
We've got sincere.
Okay. Don't overthink it, guys. The very first word that came to mind, happy, innocent.
Happy.
Okay.
Yep, innocent.
Sweet. Okay. Now tell me what industry or what job you think she has. Don't overthink it. Just pop it on there.
She's a model. She's something
Model.
bridal.
Okay. Another model.
Model. Hotel front desk manager.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, and we're going to go to the next person. Again, give me the first adjective that comes to mind and what you think she does for a living. Go ahead. I
Is
should do that.
competent and classy.
Classy. Okay, competent. What do you think she does for a living?
Manager. She's poised. Influential. She's in marketing.
Okay.
Executive or leader.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to go to the last person. Here we go. Oh, advertising, Amy says. Okay, so
Oh,
we have advertising, executive, marketing, competent, poised, another competent. Okay. Do you guys see the pattern coming out here? Okay. And here's our last person. Again, what's the first word that comes to mind? And what do you think she does for a living? Hot mess. Advertising.
Mess. Another vote for Bess. This one's not hot, but okay. Disheveled. She's an artist or a mom.
Okay. Anybody else?
She's a frenzied mom.
Okay. All right. So did you see the pattern that arose? Simply by a picture, a quick snapshot of somebody, the way that they were groomed, the way that they wore their hair, which is part of grooming, of course, but what they chose to wear and how they were posed in the picture told you a story. And there was a lot of overlap, even between the small group that we had, there was a lot of overlap in what you saw and what you interpreted and how you perceived these women. Well, guess what? It's happening to us every single day. And that is why making sure your visible credibility is just that, credible, is so vitally important to the success of your business. Don't forget about this piece. I had a mentor long ago that used to say, you know, this is our packaging. The packaging for our own product is what we choose to wear and how we present ourselves. So, you know, when you go to the store and you pick chips off of the rack, you're going to a package that is appealing, that's believable. You think that what's contained inside is represented on the outside. That's what is happening to us, right? We're a billboard for our business, what we choose to wear, how we choose to show up, how we communicate, how we behave. All of those things are part of our image and our personal brand. Okay. All right, let's move on here. So I would love for you to do another little exercise with me. I have what I call an I am statement. This is your instant message to the world. Okay, it's your silent message. And it's how you want people to remember you. So for instance, if you walk into a room and you walk back out quickly, what's the one word that they are left remembering about you? So again, let's put in the chat box what that one word, or I'll be nice, you can have 3 words. What are the 3 words that you want to be remembered about, or what you want remembered about you? Sorry, I'm all tongue-tied here. So go ahead and do that. Okay. Okay, so competent and approachable, experienced, insightful, authentic, kind, caring, competent. All right. So now I'm going to walk you through, there are 7 main style categories. And again, your image and your personal brand start with this visible credibility piece, but it is much more than that. But this is foundational, and this instant message acts as a check and balance for you. And I'll explain that here in a minute. But there are 7 main style categories, and each style category really has a set of professions and a set of words that the typical person associates with them. So keeping in mind that the words that you pick out the one word that's really important. It's your non-negotiable. Like, you know, for instance, Margaret, between competent and approachable, which one is the most important to you? Amy, between experienced, insightful, authentic, again, which one's the most important? And Gerald, kind, caring, competent, one of those must stand out among the rest. What's the non-negotiable word? Now I'm going to walk you through these style categories, and I want you to find what you do. Okay, so you're going to find your profession, not as a speaker, but your industry profession, and then we'll get to the speaker here in a minute. And let's see how you're doing. Okay, so here is the natural category, and this is active, adventurous, approachable, casual, cheerful. Professions within this category tend to be child-related, construction, engineering, software, journalism. It is a more relaxed, comfortable look. Now, I also want you guys to remember another thing, and that is that there are style categories, and then there are dress code levels. So even though this is a style category, she is also at a dress code level of probably a 2. If you do 1 being the most casual and 5 being, you know, the CEO suite, she's probably at a 2. So you could still be in this style and move up and down the dress code level. 2 different things, okay? All right, so does anybody fit within here? Okay, I know Amy's background is engineering, but that's no longer what she does, which is interesting, okay? So you're gonna have to kind of play this, play a little game with yourself. And this is all a puzzle piece, right? So these are pieces of the puzzle that will make sense down the line. Here are some ideas of, if this is your category, here's some ideas of what this dress code or this dress style product would look like, okay? Traditional is all about trust. And this is more like accounting, administration, business coaching. So for Amy, again, I'm using her as an example because I know her the best out of the group, but you know, now Amy is doing some business coaching. So she went from engineering to more this business coaching. So does she fit into this now? You know, room for discussion, right? Words that come along with this are conservative, conventional, loyal, organized, practical, principled, appropriate. Those are all different words that you could utilize. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is that we are not one-dimensional people. We are complex, right? So we're not going to fit just in one category, but the category that you fall into should be your foundation. And then you can use the other categories to create a unique sense of style for yourself, okay? A unique visible credibility. But that word that's your non-negotiable, when you find your category, this is where people's perception, the gap between how you want them to see you and how they see you, can be closed by utilizing some of these tactics as a strategy, okay? All right, so moving on. So here are some examples of this style category, the traditional. It's more of a boxy look. Preppy falls into this, definitely as an idea, okay? All right, this is elegant. This is all about quality. And when you look at this category, now we're kind of moving into consulting. Okay, so we went from business coaching, now we're into consulting, dignitary, executive business, international business, marketing and media, but top level. So it also has to do with not only what you're doing, but who your audience is. If you look down here, spokesperson for a corporation, a public figure. Also, the words then that are coming to mind are cultivated, dignified, discerning, distinguished. They're more refined. They're all about quality and elegance, okay? Here is some looks that go within the style category. Now, if you notice, a lot of these are from head to toe, one color or one set, you know, one that monochromatic look. Think back to the inauguration this year and how many monochromatic looks were there, because it adds a sense of simple elegance. So that's a really easy way for you to step up your game. Okay, here's romantic. And we had a couple people with these words: caring, compassionate, considerate, courteous. Now, these are great words. They also happen to be words that are more receptive in nature, and things like hospice, hospitality, preschool, social work, teaching, counseling, but therapeutic counseling. There's a difference. There's a difference between counseling and your audience, from therapy to business. And again, how you present yourself so that how you're interpreted go hand in hand. Are not only do you need to look at what your goals are, but who you want to attract, right? Because who you attract is how you're going to get to your goal. And those are the people that you're choosing to help get to their goal. And they need to believe you, that, again, that, you know, visible credibility. Are you credible when you show up? So if this person showed up and you were looking for a really strong, you know, detail oriented, you know, this is what we do and this is how we do it, just really authoritative. She doesn't appear that way. She appears like somebody that would be soft and caring and would be a great listener. And those are all great things. Those are all great things. But if she wanted to be known as dramatic and authoritative, this may not be the right look for her to show up in. It is not as believable as some of the other looks. You guys see what I'm saying here? Okay. So let's move on. So again, you can see here, soft colors, flowy, floral, those are all indicative of that style type. Okay. All right, alluring. This is all about glamour. So you see people like actors, people in the beauty and entertainment industry, models. They are more, it's more body conscious. And, you know, look at this beautiful purple, but that's a beautiful purple that may not look good going onto the engineering floor of, you know, of a manufacturer. Okay, the manufacturing floor for an engineer, rather. Okay, but, and these are words like compelling, daring, enticing, flirtatious, masculine, provocative, seductive. So those are all the words that go with it. Now, let's say that this was a unique part of your image. Let's say you needed to be seen as traditional, but this was something that it's part of who you are. You could use this beautiful color, this beautiful purple color, as an accessory, so that you're leading with tradition, you're leading with that style category, but you're putting in some other additional highlights to show off that you are unique in how you present yourself and what you come up with. And purple, by the way, is a creative color, so that's a great way to show your creativity. The fabric is what makes this so sexy, and the cut. Okay, that's where the glamour and the sexy part of it comes in. All right, here are some other options though. So you can see this person right here, she's just got on jeans, she's got on a traditional blazer, but again, she's got the satin low cut top on that gives it more of an alluring look rather than a traditional look, okay? Or even a sporty look, all right? Creative, this is a great category, and I love this woman because she does such a great job of putting together different prints and different styles, but making it all look tailored, if you will, which is kind of strange, right? She's got a tailored traditional window pane jacket on, but yet she's got you know, a unique cut to the shirt. So she's got the collar that looks traditional, the pinstripe that looks traditional, but then she threw us for a loop by adding a high-low hem, and that showed her creativity, as did the stripe and the window pane. And then, you know, to take us one more place, she added this great skirt. So everything follows that dark blue line. You can see dark blue showing up everywhere, but she mixed and matched to show that she is not only creative, but bold in her choices. But then she's got this great haircut that's well put together and looks a little bit more conservative, okay? Advertising, architecture, okay, creative, fashion retail, image consulting, interior design. Those are all industries that could benefit with something like this. And the words that come to mind, again, are artistic, eclectic, emotional, free-spirited, imaginative. So again, if you wanted, let's take this a bit further. Let's say that you are being looked at as a speaker to come in and talk about the creative necessity of in the workforce, right? But you show up in a really basic blue suit with no essence of creativity, and the other person comes in and they look like this. Who is more believable when it comes to having that creative edge? And again, we're talking about first impressions. So if somebody walks in and you say, we've got this person, and then let's go back to the person that was just in the white suit. So we've got her, we've got this person over here, and then we've got the white suit. Those are our choices. And what we need more than anything is to believe that this person is creative. Now, the person in the white suit, in her mind and her knowledge and her experience, may be way more creative than this person. But our first impression tells us this is the answer to our problem. And so now we give more credit due over here. We're more willing to look at her. We're willing to listen to confirmation bias, which says we're right. And we stop looking at this person as a solution, and we focus in on her. And that's what first impressions do. They bring up confirmation bias. So we decide within 3 seconds, 7 seconds, 30 seconds, that there's experiments that support all of that. We decide extremely fast what we believe about an individual. And then we carry that through. So even if we get other information given to us to tell us that we're wrong, we ignore it because we want to be right. And that's happening internally. That's not yes, we can stop and think and try to regroup, but it happens whether you want to think it does or not. It's interesting because with my clients, I often take their current headshot and show it to a select group of people that I trust and get their first impression, very similar to what we did earlier. And I did that with somebody, and I showed that person to my son, and he was 18 at the time. And he did not want to give me his first impression. I don't do that. I don't want to give you my first impression. And I said, okay. And he goes, well, I wouldn't not talk to her, which means that his first impression must have been that she was open enough or receptive enough for him to feel comfortable to talk to her. So even though he thought he wasn't doing it and he didn't want to do it, and bless his heart for that, he did it anyway. And so we can't help what happens internally. We can help whether we give people another chance or not. But sometimes we don't even recognize what's going on. And it's, I call it the dirty shoe effect. So, somebody comes in and, they look great all the way down to their shoes, and their shoes are muddy, and it's a dry, beautiful day out. And you think, well, I don't even understand what happened. Why did they not? Why are their shoes looking like this? And so you stop believing that they make good choices. You're distracted by a dirty shoe, and you're waiting for the other shoe to drop because you keep thinking, all right, they seem too perfect, but something's off. It doesn't make sense. They don't make good choices, or they're not detail oriented. And your mind starts spinning about stories that may or may not be true about this person. And that's what we have to contend with. So in your marketing journey, your image and your personal brand is that introductory moment before you even get to any of the other things. Because whether they've met you in person, or you've introduced yourself online, or they've gone looking for somebody, they are Googling and they are looking at what they can find and the story that they develop within their head. And by the way, the buyer's market, this is before COVID hit, 67% of the buyer's journey is done digitally before they ever even talk to us or consider talking to us. They've already done a bunch of homework digitally. Okay, which is scary or not scary, depending on what you decide to do with it. So here's the last category, and then we're going to get into that. So before we get to that, here are some examples of how to show up creatively. Okay. All right, dramatic. I want you to look all the way down this list. Public speaker, presenter. Okay. This is about drama, and the underlying word is power. And as a speaker, you have got to have the power to bring people in, to capture their attention. What you have to be careful of is that you don't come off as aloof, right? But words that go in this category are bold. As a speaker, you need to have some boldness. You're stepping out on a stage. You've got to have that confidence behind you. Intense, powerful, severe. Severe may not be a word that you want, right? And then again, you know, here are people in cosmetology, entertainment, image consulting for corporate or media, law, high profile law, marketing, presenter. This is about angles and bold colors and, you know, black and white or a shot of red, being bold in your choices so that people can look at you as a power figure tempered with some other categories for sure. Okay, here are some different looks. See the yellow and the black, or the red and the black, white and black, making bold choices in the cut of fabric. So even over here, this woman right here, this is a great combination of bold and creative. She's got kind of a creative swash over here. It's like a ruching at her neck. But then she's got this big bold belt on and a pinstripe with an angle. So there are some bold choices mixed with some creativity as well. Okay. Do you guys have any questions on this? Did you see the category that fit within the words that you chose, and then the category that fits within the industry in which you work? And how did that come out for you? Going to turn that off for a second. Anybody want to weigh in on if there were any surprises as to what category they feel like they should live in versus what's in their closet?
No, I fit in the traditional category in terms of my work,
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty much my wardrobe.
Okay, good. And it helps so much, because when you get hold of your closet, which again is kind of a foundational piece to all of this, getting hold of your closet and making sure that what's in there fits you properly, is functional, and flatters you, I got to tell you, that's a load off your shoulders. If you can go in and just pick out clothes that you know do the trick and make you feel really confident, then you're free to do all the work that you need to do to make your business run.
Mm-hmm.
But if every day you start by getting dressed and being frustrated, that can weigh you down for the rest of the day. So Margaret, thanks for weighing in on that. I think that's highly important.
They may not fit now.
That's funny that you say that.
Beautiful clothes that I haven't worn for a very
I went to buy jeans yesterday and she said, what size? And I'm like, ugh, this size or this size. I don't really know anymore. But that's okay. But you know, here's the thing is that you don't have to have a lot of things. You need to have the right things. And that is the difference maker. We as women, I see this time and time again where we play a little game with ourselves and we say to ourselves, oh, I'll just try this on. And if it's, you know, $30 or under and it kind of fits and I kind of like it, I'll just buy it. And then what happens is that we get it home, it sits in our closet, or we put it on, we wear it once, we feel awful, it's frustrating, we're annoyed, we never wear it again. Cost per wear, $30. Now, let's say we do that 4 times, that's $120 that we have spent to wear 4 different days. That's it. You could have saved your money, bought that phenomenal top that you love for, let's say it's $80, and you wear it once a week all year long. And people do it. I do it all the time. Now, what's the cost per wear for that? You know, that's math that I can't do in my head right now, but you know, even if you wore it 80 times, right? So you spend $80, you wear it 40 times. That's $2 each time you wear it versus $30 for something that you hate. So less is more. When you go shopping, if you put it on and you don't love it, leave it. Leave it, leave it, leave it. Save your money. Keep looking, okay? Less is more. And we're gone are the days where people are like, oh, you know, if I wear that once to, you know, in front of somebody, I can't wear that again. Baloney. Wear it. Okay, let's get back to this. All right. So here is, kind of the foundation I was talking about, is that style is more than your favorite colors and silhouettes. It really reflects your vocation. It communicates with your audience, and it really, really gives them an introduction of your professional goals and what level that you're on. It really, again, is foundational. And when you have that instant message, you can say to yourself, all right, when I'm getting dressed in the morning, if let's say your overwhelming word is creative, is what I'm choosing show me as creative? If the answer is no, then you need to make some changes, okay? Now, it may be that you need to show a more traditional and conservative approach that day, but in order to be authentically you and to show some creativity, throw on a great necklace. Change things up with accessories. You can do that. If you need to be, let's say you usually have a creative base and you need to show a little bit of a traditional flair, throw on some pearls. Accessories are a great way to change things up. When you go to get your headshots and your personal branding photos, if your word is creative, is creativity shown in that? Not only in what you wear, but in the poses and in the background that you choose. Is that shown? When you are on social media and you're creating content, are you writing in a way that shows your creativity? Are your posts creative in their aesthetic? When you're jumping on video, what's happening there? Are you showing and are you being believable that you have a creative component? It is a foundational piece. So whittle down that I am statement. That's my challenge to you. Pick one word and really live with it. Live with it for a week and see if that really is your word, and play the this or that game with yourself. If you have two words, bold or creative, which is the one that really your clients need to have from you? Okay. So not only is it the word that you want to be, how you want to be perceived, but does that give the confidence to the people that you're trying to attract? Okay. When you get this right, the chances of moving forward are great. If you get it wrong, you may have just handed an opportunity to your competitor. Think back to the woman in the white and the woman with the creative look. Both are going for a creative position. They walk into a room with the exact same experience, exact same resume. Which one is more believable? The woman in white could have added a really great creative necklace, and she may have tipped the scales a little bit more. Okay. Same thing. If they wanted somebody that was very traditional and very buttoned down, and you show up like my creative woman, that might not have been believable enough for them. And she may have been discounted simply by how she packaged herself. Okay. All right. Let's get out of this for a minute. So again, not only are we talking about what we choose to wear, but how we show up in pictures and digitally, and do we even have a digital profile? How many of you are consistently using social media to help push your business forward? Okay. One of the things, like I said earlier, is that your digital footprint is a big deal right now. So you should be able to Google yourself and something should come up. And laying that foundation so that people can find you is really, really a major thing that you need to do. One of the platforms that I found that, it changed my business, was LinkedIn. So when it comes to social media, you do need to look at all the platforms and determine which one or two is really where your clients live, and choose it and be great at it. To try and do them all not very well is just an exercise in frustration. So pick one, maybe two. So like, for instance, LinkedIn, what's nice about LinkedIn is that you can connect your Twitter page if you had a Twitter page. So anything I post on LinkedIn also goes to my Twitter. Now, what that also means is that, remember, your image and your personal brand is also about your communication, right? And if you are not choosing to communicate, then we've got a problem. Okay. So we've talked about appearance. Let's talk about behavior and communication style and how you are going to project yourself and how you're going to lay this digital foundation. And I will tell you, one of the best things that you can do is go and get professional headshot and branding photos. They're a game changer. Amy, would you agree? Yeah, because you need them in all different areas. So from your one page to, if they are asking you to, to do a presentation, they want an updated headshot, not a headshot from 10 years ago, not one from 2 years ago if you've changed. So for instance, some of you, when you first met me, my hair was long. Well, times have changed, people. So I have to get, every time I make a major change, I get my headshots updated, because what you don't want to happen is that they see this headshot of you and then you come in looking like somebody completely different. I had a client a few years back that her headshot that she was using was so old that her hair was completely brown, and now she had this beautiful gray, all gray hair. And so when she would come to the appointment, they were confused. And if that happens now, right? So when you come and the first thing they see is someone that doesn't match what they were expecting, that confusion starts coming in and making noise in your head while you're trying to listen to why they're a good solution provider for you. So you got to get the noise out. You got to make a clear, consistent, confident image and personal brand across all platforms, right? So it doesn't matter if they meet you in person, through pictures, through video, through reading your content, they come away with that same foundational piece. Oh, wow, she's who we need because she brings us to the table. She's so creative in her solutions. She looks so creative. And it's, again, these are things that are just going on in people's mind, but the onus of communication is on us. It's not on the listener to interpret what we're trying to say. We have to be clear and consistent and confident in what we're saying to them, from our silent message to our written content to our verbal content. Okay, so I'm going to show you, let's see here. I'm going to show you a gallery, if I can get there. Okay, so I did a photo shoot, and when you do a photo shoot, you want to capture different elements of your personality, because there's different reasons why you might utilize these pictures, okay? So have some fun with it. I will tell you, it's so funny because I was just saying this to somebody online today that, they complimented me on my photos or whatever. And I said, oh my gosh, when I look back at my first photo shoot, and it was miserable. I was stiff. I wasn't having fun. I was overly critical about everything about myself, even though I'm an image consultant, right? Super critical. And it wasn't fun for the photographer either. Now, this is, I don't know, this is maybe my fourth one, and I just had fun with it. I simply had fun with it. And there's a lot of content here that can be used for different purposes. Now, this is interesting too. If you look at, like, for instance, this picture, can you see that these are all different photo shoots? This is how much I've changed even over 5 years. I mean, my hair was pretty long there. You can't see it, it's in the back, and then I went to a shorter. But you have to keep up with what is going on, okay? Make sure that you have professional photos. Make sure that you are being consistent in how you are appearing. So you can see my style is blazers. My style is faux leather. I love that. My style is big chunky jewelry. That's what I love, right? Because I like to bring in a, kind of that traditional base, but I want to show my boldness and I want to show my creativity. And that's what, that's how I have decided that it's best for me to show up. So, a great photo shoot is definitely what you want. And then getting to LinkedIn, this is why LinkedIn is so fantastic, because, and this is what happens. Okay. So again, this is how your personal brand is shown on a daily basis. So here's my LinkedIn profile, and you can come down here. And so if somebody was doing some investigation on me, they literally could come here, they could go to this feature, they could see, some videos or some written content that I've decided to share. They can also come down here and they can go to all activity. And I am telling you, people do this on a daily basis. So if you think they don't, they do. They can go to all activity. They can say, oh, okay, here's some articles she's written. Let's get to know her a little bit better. And oh, here's her posts. Let's see what she's all about. And they start scrolling. Is there consistency with the way that you're showing up? Do you have a brand identity? Do you have thoughts that are consistent? Do you have a style that they can get a better idea of who you are? Okay. Those are important things. Do not get bogged down with, oh, I don't have enough comments, or, oh, I don't have enough likes. Don't get bogged down with that. People lurk all the time, right? We lurk, we read content, and we choose sometimes to, make a comment on it and sometimes not to. But I will tell you, you as the poster, this is what's super important. If somebody comments on your post, you have got to comment back. When you post something, it is like opening your doors and inviting somebody into your business. And if they come walking into your business and they say, oh, hi, and you wave at them because now you've just liked their post, their comment to you, but you don't open your mouth and talk to them, why would they stay? Why would they continue the conversation? Why would they come back to you? I remember one time, Marilyn mentioned earlier hockey. I'm a hockey mom and I love hockey. And so somebody made a comment about what's your favorite sport. So I thought, oh, this is cool. I'll comment. And so I made a comment about it, and he never, ever liked my comment or commented back. And I thought, all right, there you go. Apparently he's not interested. He's not interested in, progressing this conversation. Kind of rude. He put out what he wanted to put out, so it satisfied his quota of a post per day, but he really doesn't want to get to know anybody. He's not really trying to build a community. He's selfish. That's how I came away from it. And we don't want people to think that of you. If you're going to post, it's because you really want to hear what people have to say and you want to engage. And when you start doing that and you start building a community, even if you never have that person as a client, they will remember you as a solution provider for your expertise. And that's what we want to happen. So remember, I said you're a billboard for your business, right? And billboards, you're driving down the highway, one of three things happen. They either A, capture your attention enough so that you call them immediately because they provide the solution you need now, or they've captured your attention enough so that you remember them when you do have that problem, or they've captured your attention enough so that you are referring them to somebody else when you hear that they have that problem, or you just drive on by and you don't remember them at all and you never think about them. And then the billboard over here that does capture your attention becomes the person that you recommend or you call when you have a need. So you have got to make an impact. You have to make an impact that is long lasting and memorable for the right reasons, so that even if it's 2 years from now, that person is calling you when they are ready to work with you. It just happened to me this past weekend. I've been talking to this woman for 2 years. She's a friend of mine. We have coffee. Sometimes we talk about work, but sometimes not. And this time when we had coffee, she was ready. And, now I have a 5-figure client that I didn't have before. And that's pretty exciting. So you want to make sure that whatever you're choosing to share here on social media in your pictures is memorable, consistent, and confident. Show yourself as the expert, okay? Any questions right now? Anybody? Is it overwhelming to think about social media and having to put that into your marketing and to know that you are part of the marketing process? Is that overwhelming? Margaret's like, yes. Go ahead and unmute yourself and let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, I'm just not at the point where I want to market myself to do anything else than what I'm doing at the moment.
Okay.
if I Googled myself, there's a lot
Okay.
on Google by virtue of the role I had before
Mhm.
in the health system. So there are some pictures, but mostly just lots of different stuff that I did, or sometimes there are videos too. I mean, I didn't do any of that. I never planned on any of that, but if I Google myself, I can see a lot of stuff. And I am on LinkedIn only because someone I knew wanted me to be on LinkedIn. And so
Okay.
I did that for a particular person, but I haven't done anything. I don't even have my profile up there. I mean, intentionally, I haven't done anything.
Okay.
But what I'm using this course for, this work for, is to think about if I were to pursue a business,
Mhm.
what I would need to do. I mean, I'm not on Facebook either. I'm not on any of it. And I wasn't on any of it purposefully when I was the chief nurse, because I did not want to get involved in
Right.
friends or liking or any of that jazz.
Mhm.
That was not my goal. So this is really helpful in terms of what do I really need to think about intentionally to build a presence or to communicate or those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It does take time and effort, and really what you're doing is you're laying breadcrumbs. And, you know, I have a image impact assessment / survey that I ask people to take, especially before I do presentation. And it's also a way for people to go through a set of 15 questions and get an idea of where they are in their personal branding overhaul, if you will. And one of the things that I, excuse me, ask is that when you Google yourself, are the top search results demonstrating your current expertise? And that sometimes is a difference maker. And that may be, Margaret, where the change will come for you when you're ready, is that right now, what they see is your current profession. What they'll need to see in a, you know, when you're ready, is you as a speaker in this profession or whatever you're going to. So it's an interesting segue, and definitely laying the breadcrumbs. And LinkedIn is such a huge place to grow your SEO and to grow your visibility. Because when you Google yourself, LinkedIn usually comes up as 1, 2, or 3 in the search engine for you. So that means that if it's, you know, first, second, or third choice, people are clicking on it and they start wandering through your profile to see what is there and getting to know you. And again, remember I said 67% of the buyer's journey is digital. Pre-COVID, imagine what's going on now. Imagine what's going on now. So
yeah, these are all great points that I haven't thought about. But
yeah. Well, yeah, and it is a difference maker. And you'll see too, Amy, can I use you as an example?
Yeah, but I just want to stop on Marge for a second before you use me as an example, because she's such an interesting, first of all, you were so humble, Marge, because I just Googled you, and you have something named after you on leadership. So you like the University of Michigan has created a leadership lectureship honor. And we're talking about, like, could you be a credible speaker? Well, hello. Yes. You know, like, you're at a whole different level. So let's just talk about that, you know. So I think that, like, first of all, congratulations. What an honor. That's amazing. And I love your humility with us. So thank you. But, you know, I think it's just interesting when you have, like, where you are coming from, and when you think about what do you want to do, because you have, you know, and what Carol talks about is harnessing that experience and that credibility, and then where do you want to put it. And I think for you, like, you have such recognition and already you know, this experience that it just puts you in a different space than I think some of the rest of us of where you're starting from with your speaking. So it's just
You're very kind. Thank you.
congratulations on that.
Thank
Well,
you.
what's interesting though is that you see people at all different levels that are afraid
Yeah.
to shout out their expertise. They're afraid to really show it. And personal branding is your ability to do just that. So it's taking the things that set you apart. It's taking the things that you do better than anybody else that makes you uniquely you. And now not being afraid to share that with the world. And again, LinkedIn is such an interesting platform because it's all business oriented. People really want to celebrate your successes. They don't, you know, nobody wants somebody that's bragging, right? But when you have a success and you share that on LinkedIn, people love that. And regardless of what level you are, whether you're starting out or you're way up here in your career, you still have to take the same tactics or the same general group of tactics and decide which ones are best for you so that your strategy gets you to that next goal. Because, you know, whether you're here and your goal is here, or you're here and your goal is here, or your goal is just shifting laterally, when there's a difference and there's something else that you need people to understand about you, you have to be able to talk about it. If you're not talking about it, your business isn't open. And digitally now that is, you know, that more and more we see that every day. You know, when the pandemic hit, when people just shut down and didn't talk about their business, those people struggled when the time was, you know, when it was time to come back in. Especially in times of crisis, that's when you have to talk more and more about the fact that you are able to provide a service regardless of what's going on. You're able to shift and rotate. And when you're coming from one industry and going to another industry, or you just feel like it's time for you to step out, you have to be able to talk about it. So I love that. I love that you just went on that little journey, Amy, and dug out what we need to know about Marge. That's fantastic.
She's one of my heroes. So I love that we have this chance to get to know each other.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm gonna use Amy as an example because Amy and I have worked together before, and I took a little look on her LinkedIn profile last night because I wanted to see what the difference was before her real use of her photos and after the use of her photos. And there is a very distinct difference. I don't know, Amy, if you've kind of tooled around with this before, or
I'm not sure what you're going to show, but I've started tracking some metrics on LinkedIn too. So, but go ahead.
Awesome. So here's Amy's profile, and she's got a great profile. She's got updated headshot that shows her as, you know, professional, relevant. I love the light bulbs back there. It's like, oh, I've got a good idea. She's got a great use of color palette. The only thing I would say in here is that she could add her her website, and that would make it easy for people if they wanted to reach her. That would be a plus, right? But everything looks really clean, creative, professional, and that's a lot of what Amy brings to the table. So like I said, you can go down here and you can start searching about what is here. So here's her activity. And here are her posts. Now I said, don't worry about numbers. Don't get caught up in numbers, but yet you can tell a big story through numbers as well. So when you see her picture, look what we've got, 20 comments or 20 likes. Anytime she shows up, so this one is only at 6. When she shows up with her, either her picture or her branding, is when things start to pop out again for her. So you can see the numbers pop a little bit bigger. Okay, so like if we come down here to before she really started doing that, so here's a took me a while to get to them. Hang on. So see, when she shows up, see the numbers pop up. So it's interesting, and you'll see, different things. And I'm glad Amy's tracking this, because you can see what people are attracted to and what they're glossing over. Couple things to remember. Again, number one, there are lurkers. So they may like it, they may want to comment, and they just don't. When you look at your own profile, when you get started on this, you can actually see how many people actually viewed each post. For LinkedIn in particular, and I do want to share this with you, LinkedIn algorithm really only likes one post per day. If you put in 2 posts, it basically cannibalizes the first post. So, you've posted once, now you're posting again in that same day. Now LinkedIn is saying, okay, well, we'll promote this post and this one goes away. You don't want to do that. So, make sure that your content is good enough that you only need 1 post a day, right? Pick and choose what you want to do. And social media can be a huge rabbit hole. It can be a big time suck, but it is a marketing piece that you need to have now, because people have got to be able to find you. And when you are active on a platform such as LinkedIn and people go to Google you, there's more chance that they will find something about you. Same thing with YouTube. If you're interested in doing video, get yourself a YouTube channel and make sure, because Google and YouTube are owned, right? They're the same company. Make sure that you're putting in information that drives that SEO, so that when we're Googling you, your videos show up. If somebody Googles a question about the content that you are answering on YouTube, you're more likely for that to come up. We had an NSA speaker. I don't have his his name's not top of mind right now, but that's what he does. He is a YouTube expert, and he talked about the absolute power of SEO with YouTube. But aesthetically speaking, make sure you're doing a good job. Make sure that you're showing up as the expert that you are. Make sure that you're believable in your pictures. Make sure that you're believable in your video. Don't put out a video in which, you're not prepared. You don't have a thumbnail. It doesn't look, it does not have to be professional by any stretch of the imagination, but it has to look like you know what you're doing. Make sure you're taking the time to do that. If you don't know how to do these things by yourself, that's when you go to experts to help you to do that. When I started in my speaking career, one of the best things that I did was to hire Mimi for some private sessions, because that's how my brain worked. I needed to dial in and I needed answers now. And I hired Mimi, and it totally changed the way I did things. It's okay to hire an expert to help you on things that you're not able to do. And there's a lot of moving pieces, but the thing that doesn't change for you is that you have an image and you have a personal brand, and you have got to curate them. You have got to take care of them. And sometimes that means that you have to have other people help you so that those things maintain their integrity and you keep showing up and being remembered the way that you're choosing to be remembered, not because it's loosey-goosey and people are just making up, stories about you because you haven't given us the breadcrumbs to tell the story that you want us to remember. Okay. All right. What kind of questions and how are we doing on time, Pam? I can't, you're muted.
Sorry, it won't click through.
Oh.
You've got up to 25 minutes if you'd like.
Okay. Well, what I would like to do now is really hear from you guys. What other things have been, top of mind questions? What things seem a little bit scary? Are you wondering what tools you can use? How can I help you the best? Because this is a huge topic and I can go on forever, but I want to make sure that we're aligned with what will help you guys now. Gerald, does anything come to mind for you? You're muted.
Yeah, I have been avoiding a lot of social media. I I never friend anyone I work with. So this is a whole flip because you're trying to attract the people you want to work with. So,
Yeah.
I mean, so I only have like my close friends and family mostly on Facebook. So,
Mhm.
and I don't post a lot because I don't post, oh, you know, I went to the spa today or today was a hard day at work. I don't post that kind of stuff. I just like people's stuff, like nice pictures. I don't post pictures very much, you know, so this is like, ugh, I have to really revamp how I think about it in terms of a business model.
Well, and here's the thing too, depending on who your client is going to depend on what platform you choose to be on. So my client are female leaders, professionals, right? So for me to spend a lot of time on Facebook or Instagram just doesn't make a lot of sense. Do I have a presence there? I do, just because I do. But my main focus is LinkedIn. And so for you, Gerald, who would be your client? Where do you think, give me a snapshot of who your ideal client would be.
Medical providers, nurses, doctors, therapists, social workers. So it would probably be a LinkedIn profile as well, I think.
So
Which
the
I
cool
have.
news is,
It just has one thing, like my picture and what I do.
okay,
And that's not even the speaking. It's just that I'm a case manager.
yeah. So
Which
it is
is-
important for you to get your LinkedIn profile up and updated. That's really important. And then remember that the way that you communicate and that you post and that you build community on LinkedIn is very, very different than Facebook and Instagram and all those different things. You're shouting out your expertise. Nobody cares what you had for lunch. You know,
Right.
that's the good news, right? We don't want to see a picture of your food. We want to hear what you bring to the table. We want you to give us tips and strategies to show your expertise. We want to see you as the answer to the problem that we don't even know that we have yet. And really what you need to do, and Mimi touched on this too, is that you've got to know who your client is, who your ideal prospect is, so that you can be speaking to them, so that when they read it, they go, oh my God, I can totally relate. I can totally relate. And this is business focused. It's not business focused with obviously some personal in it, so that, you know, because really people buy people, they don't buy product, they buy the people, right? And as a speaker, they want to get to know you, but getting to know you we don't need to know that, you know, you went out drinking with your friends and drank 3 bottles of wine and, you know, then took an Uber home. Nobody cares about that. Right? Matter of fact, that can work against you. We want to know, wow, I just went to an Inforum meeting and heard this great speaker. These are the things that I got out of it. You know, here you go. Here's a list. Or, you know, I've got an upcoming seminar. Here's the things that we could do. I mean, literally, we could take a screenshot of what of us right now. I could put it on LinkedIn and say, you know, I presented to the NSA this morning. So glad to connect with, and then tag everybody's name. And that shows me as an expert talking to a group of people. It shows you all as people that are interested in moving your business forward, you know, and that's where, you know, LinkedIn and the algorithm and all that stuff comes into play, because it starts cross promoting as well. And that's a whole nother subject, you know, that we can get into. But the point of it is that you have got to be visible. People have got to find you. And now when you're Googling or you go onto LinkedIn and you know, you're like, oh, this person wants to speak to us. You know, they're asking to be a presenter, and let's do some research on them. And there's nothing to find. That's when trouble ensues, because now they're making up their own story about who you are or who you are not. So you got to take control. But don't worry about, you know, yes, of course you want to be connected with your friends on LinkedIn if that makes sense. I will tell you, there's a weird thing about LinkedIn that if you have 500 connections or more, it just says 500 connections or more. But if you have less than that, it also shows that you have less than that, and it looks like you are not active on the platform. And, you know, again, there's all kinds of things that come with that too. But making sure, I'm going to pull up.
So Gerald, I just pulled you up and it asked me to enter my email to connect with you. So I think like it's even I think you have a setting that says only allow people I know.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what's happening. Can you see that?
Oh, okay.
but the nice thing is you have a very clean slate to start with. So you can make it whatever you want.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Carol, talk maybe about like using the content you have as posts and messages, because
Yeah,
Jen
absolutely.
has, I mean, she is like a mind trust of information on her subject matter expertise, and people need to know it. And like that's part of your mission, is just wanting people to know what you know. And this is a great platform to get that out.
Yeah, one of the things that I really pride myself on is working less, smarter, not harder, and repurposing content, because especially as speakers, you guys have content. So one of the things that you need to remember is that any content you have, any video you have, can be transcribed. And when you transcribe something, all of a sudden you have, and I know I've got one right here somewhere, because I keep them. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Look at this, pages and pages and pages of what I talked about. Literally, I could take this recording, I could transcribe it, and then I could go through and just highlight all the different golden nuggets, right? And then what you do is you create posts with your golden nugget, and then the content of your post gives a little bit more information with that. And one of the best tools that you could use when you decide that you want to do this is Canva. So for instance, let's see, I can take you. So this is, I said these words in one of my presentations, and when I transcribed, I saw that, I was reminded of it. So then I just created a post that showed that little nugget. Okay. And then you can put that up there. But take notes on your phone. Do you guys have iPhones or a Google phone, a smartphone of any kind? I'm the queen of notes. So when things pop into my head, I literally get on my notes and type away. I don't know if you can see that. Type away. I have pages and pages and pages and pages of notes that really are bite-sized nuggets that then can be used for posts. Okay. Again, you could do a 2-minute video, create that video. You can then transcribe it and then change that into an article form. And then when you have that article, you can pull out again golden nuggets that then you can use for your social media. There's ways that you can do things where you don't have to keep recreating. Utilize the content that you already have, whether it's written or it's a presentation. Go ahead and use that. I'm going to show you, and I can send this to you guys too. So here, this is repurpose your content. So let's say you do take a video. Okay, this is a great way to make a big impact, is to jump on video. And by the way, you're speakers, so you should be able to show what you do by really harnessing the power of video. You could literally take that video, then you could transcribe it, and you can use a service like Temi or Rev. They'll do a quick transcription, clean it up, use that as a blog, and then you can create social media posts from that content. So 4 easy steps to just repurpose what you already have. I actually have a program now that I do this for clients, because I see it time and again where, we get to a certain level and you still have a business to run. And this, like I said, this can be a big rabbit hole. and it's hard, it can be hard to manage. Some people do it beautifully. They do a great job of it. They've got a natural aesthetic for color and design, such as Amy. I mean, her stuff is gorgeous. Other people just don't have the time, or they don't have the ability to do that. So I take that off of their plate for them. But you need to be able to know how to do it yourself, so that you understand A, how much time it takes, B, if it's worth your while to do it yourself, or C, if you don't have the bandwidth, who can you find to help you do it? Because it still has to be done. It still has to be done. And again, your image and your personal brand need to be seen, need to be consistent across all platforms all the time, right? Okay, yes, Pam.
So I stepped away for a minute. I don't think you said this. So you're talking about LinkedIn and the liking, and you're actually kind of cannibalizing your posts.
Yep.
From a social media standpoint, not LinkedIn, but I know a lot of people have Facebook pages, or they're posting their stuff on their personal page as they start to grow their businesses. Is there a rule of thumb or a Carol suggestion for how often do you post on those kinds of pages?
So there's all different, every platform is different. So if you use Instagram likes multiple posts per day, because Instagram is, once it's in the feed, it drops off. So it doesn't keep popping up in people's feed. It just kind of, like Twitter, just kind of rolls through. The nice thing about Instagram is that it is all about the aesthetic. And you can go to somebody's profile and you see all of their beautiful pictures right there. But if that's not your mojo and that's not where your client lives, it can feel very heavy. Facebook is a whole nother situation. You can have a Facebook business page. You can have a Facebook group. You can have your own personal page. Be very careful about talking about your business on your personal page, because sometimes people don't love that. And it's very, it really is dependent on what your job is, whether they're tolerant of that or not. The other thing is too, going back to LinkedIn and multiple posts per day, what ends up happening is not only is it cannibalized, but people get annoyed that there's just too much. And so they start shutting you off, and they either unfollow you or they just ignore what they see. It's the same thing all the time, so they ignore it. Facebook is, Facebook, you can do 1 or 2 posts a day safely. I am not an expert on Facebook, but you have to decide, are you going to have a Facebook page? You're going to have a Facebook group. If you have a group, you have got to be really involved with that group to make sure that it's worth your time. There's a lot of managing that has to go through with it. But I think everybody here, I don't think that your client is on Facebook. I think your client's on LinkedIn. I really do. Now, that being said, do I have a client that I've never talked to my business? She's a friend of mine. I've never had a conversation with her about my business, ever. I'm only connected with her on Facebook, which again is a pretty minimal place for me to be. But she's seen it enough times. It's not in my personal. I don't put it on my personal page. Barely ever do I put any business on my personal. But she is part of my. She sees the content from my business page. Sorry, guys, my business page. Out of the blue, she reached out to me because she was now going to start a business, and she has become a client. Never have I had a conversation with her. Never has she ever posted or liked anything on my business page. But did she watch me? She did. So that what I put up there spoke a language that was what she needed at the time, and she reached out, and now we work together. So again, that goes back to numbers. Don't get involved with the number game. Get involved with the content and the ability to provide good content, and pick and choose the platform that is right for you.
I love that. I love that advice. It's great advice. I'm going to turn that inside out and ask, is there a minimum, so I think everybody here is relatively new to, going to the social media aspect. And it seems like, is there some rule of thumb or Carol's law that says you should be, if you're going to post or start this process, you should be on there 3 times a week, 1 time a week?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
So I'm just going to talk about LinkedIn because that's where, that's where I happily live. 3 times a week is your minimum. That is your minimum. And you have got to be consistent. You can't post for a week and then take 6 weeks off and post again and think that you're going to get any traction. Nor can you get any traction if you are not willing to be part of the community, which means that not only are you posting and commenting if people comment on your stuff, but you're connecting with people, you are reading content, you are making comments on other people's content. This is networking. Okay, networking isn't happening in person anymore. Networking is happening online, and LinkedIn is where that water cooler sits right now. And so you, again, the way that LinkedIn works is that it promotes good content, it promotes consistent content, and it promotes when others comment on your thing. So for instance, let's say Amy posted something and I commented on Amy's her post. It could show up now in my feed when people look, or let's say Marge, you look at your feed. Wait, I gotta put this together. So you on LinkedIn, you've got first, second, and third connections. Okay, if I comment on a first connections post, my other first connections may see that I commented on that person's post, even though they are a second connection to them. So if, let's say, Marge, you and Amy are not connected yet, but Marge, you're connected to me and Amy's connected to me. I post on Amy's post, or I comment on Amy's post, and now in your feed, Marge, you see that I commented on Amy's post, and now you're curious enough to see why I did that. So you go and you read Amy's post, and now you say, oh, Amy is somebody I should connect with, and I should, make a comment. That's how you build your community. So now you're intrigued enough to find out more about Amy. You might send her a connection request. And by the way, you're going to comment and say, wow, that's great information, Amy. So glad that you shared that with me. Now Amy knows who you are. So when you send her a connection, she's more likely to accept because you supported her post. And that's how you build community. And that's what LinkedIn does really well, is almost introduce people to one another in this kind of low key manner, So, and it's funny because as I'm talking about this, I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's something I could do better, is keep watching out for those things and making sure that I'm taking advantage of that connection that LinkedIn really is offering us. And making sure that if I see that Amy commented on Marilyn's post and it's showing up as, maybe something I might be interested in, that I take enough time to see what Marilyn has written and see if maybe she would be a good connection for me to reach out to.
Yeah. I just had a call yesterday with somebody that was a result of like a connection of a connection. So I did some interviews with this person who I had done free webinars with last year. He changed jobs. He's doing like this video blog thing on the side just to solicit. I don't know why he's doing it, but he's doing it. And so I, I think he's doing it to get his own clients, right? And I think he's searching for what he wants to do in life. But anyway, I did this video with him, and one of his former colleagues watched it and said, I think we need her skills in our training group. And so I had a call with them yesterday, and then I'm following up next week for some potential work. So,
That's
but
awesome.
it was a second connection. Share through LinkedIn was how I was able to make that connection.
We just do this for you, Amy.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Yeah. But a lot of my my recent inquiries have come from LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. It totally changed my business. I mean, 100%. I had a Facebook page for quite a while. And like I said, I still have it, but especially when I changed my focus more to female leaders and female entrepreneurs and females that are ready to take that next step, really getting down and dirty and utilizing LinkedIn as much as possible just changed everything. The other thing that changed things too was and Mimi talked about this, using webinars to your advantage. That's huge. You know, create something that is you being able to talk about what you're passionate about. So I, on a whim one time, I decided that I was going to call it the Female Leaders Closet. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit. I have an acronym called VOICE. So it's Visible, Original, Impactful, Confident, Expert. And I have programs that are, you know, finding your voice in a crowded space. You know, I wrote a tip book, again, because of Mimi, about just that. And what I ended up doing was all I did was switch the name of it. So now it's called the Female Leaders Closet. And it's those 5 pieces that make up the VOICE acronym are now split into 5 different sessions. And I've offered them gratis to my LinkedIn community. And again, I'm building my email list because of this, right? Because I'm doing it through Zoom. They have to register. And because on top of that, I've also added this assessment that I have that's through a platform called Video Ask. I have built a really strong business through those tactics and that strategy that has moved me into a place where, you know, now people reach out, now people recommend, now people remember, they're excited when I invite them to the webinar. I get, and this is dumbfounding to me because in my head, I think, oh, people are getting invited to webinars all the time. Nobody wants to go to another webinar, blah, 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 blah. And I am astounded now at how many people will say, thank you for the invitation. I can't come. Will you please let me know when the next one is? That's astounding to me and something that I didn't expect to happen. But what I've done is I've given value enough times, and my reputation has grown because of that, that people are excited for the next round. And they're sharing. I mean, Amy, bless her heart, she shared it. I think I had 4 or 5 people when I did the announcement share it to their community. And that's what LinkedIn does so well. It's water cooler conversations, it's networking conversations that you can do any time of day because you simply can log on and start a conversation and start talking and making sure that people remember you. And you're in the meantime building this, you know, line of crumbs to where you are, and you're better able to reach your own goals and find the people who need you to help them reach their goals. And that's what, you know, that's ultimately what it's about, right? You know, so if you want to get here, you gotta have something that you're offering that also allows your client to get to their next plateau as well.
So it sounds like it's a real commitment. Once you start LinkedIn, like I don't even accept connection requests because I'm afraid if I do, they're going to think that they're going to, you know, they can send me something and I'm going to read it because I'm not on, you know, I go on LinkedIn very sporadically.
Mhm.
But it sounds like obviously if we use this as a tool, we need to be on it daily at the very least, just to even see what's going on, let alone post and.
Yeah, I mean, yes, in a perfect world of yes, you would be on it daily. And that can even just be 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night. You know, nobody expects people to be on it 24/7. I mean, you have a business to run, right? I mean, that doesn't work, but you have to make the commitment that you will build the community and you will, again, you know, if you're going to post, certainly if you're going to post, you have got to make a commitment that that day that you're going to look and see what's going on. And very honestly, another algorithm of LinkedIn is that if you post something and somebody makes a comment, I think it's like, you know, if you comment back to them within the next 2 hours, that LinkedIn boosts you up a little bit higher. Now that's great and everything, but again, got a business to run, so you may or may not be able to do that. But it is a commitment. It absolutely is a commitment, but it's also a business tool that is highly valuable, highly valuable. And if you look at all the different stats of LinkedIn, and actually I just saved this. So let me give you guys a couple stats as to why this is important. Let me see where it is. Just saved it because, see if I can find it. You know what? I can't find it off the top of my head right. Oh, here we go. This is from HubSpot. HubSpot is they do a lot of different things, but one of the things that they do offer is a platform where you can schedule your posts so that you don't have to be on there posting every day. It'll post for you. But here are some stats that are need to know. There are 740 million active users on LinkedIn, okay? In 2020, LinkedIn was voted the most trusted network. %57 of global LinkedIn users are male. 49% of the internet users who make more than $75,000 annually use LinkedIn, while only 26% of those in a lower category. So most of the people on LinkedIn have a pretty solid salary range. 51% are have a college degree or higher that use LinkedIn. This is the most important, and listen very closely. 4 out of 5 LinkedIn members drive business decisions at their company. 4 out of 5. So you want to find a decision maker, you want to find somebody that can get you to where you're going, LinkedIn is where you might want to spend some time and start making sure that they understand who you are, what you bring to the table, what you offer, and why you're better at what you do than anybody else. And that's not a brag, that's a gift to them, because we all are an expert to somebody and in our unique field, and it's finding those people and then being able to share that knowledge so that when they need it, they can find you. Because that's the thing too, you can't just be an expert, you have to be the go-to expert. And if they can't find you, you're not a go-to expert. No one's going to the yellow pages anymore. No one's going to the white pages anymore. But we don't even see our neighbors anymore. They're going online and they're asking for recommendations, or they're doing research to find out who you are. Okay.
We have to remember the build it, then they will come. It's a nice thought, but I'll just let you know, I've lived in my home for 30 years and no one has ever rang my doorbell and said, I'm looking for a speaker. I'm looking for someone who has a solution to this. Do you do that? It's just not how it works.
Yeah.
It's not
Oh my God. Yeah. And that's pretty powerful.
It really is. So,
Yeah.
Carol, you've brought us so many great nuggets here today. This has been totally fabulous. I could probably sit here and do another rest of the afternoon with you. And actually, there are ways to do that with Carol. You can certainly visit her website and even just look at all she's talked about with social media branding and who you show up as. Be sure to visit her at theimageimpactgroup.com. She's mentioned that she obviously has a client base. She does a lot of different things, everything from some free offerings to her book, which is 49 Tips to Find Your Voice in a Crowded Space, to working with her professionally one-on-one, as Amy has done. So you can certainly check in with her or check in with Carol and have a discovery call and see if there's something there when you're ready for that step. So any last like kind of closing, put a bow on it, Carol?
Just don't forget about you. Again, we spend so much time and effort to get really good at what we do. But if we don't show up looking like we know what we do, people disregard us and they go to somebody else. You are your best asset. You truly are. You are your best asset. What you do, what you put out there, how you communicate, how you develop and grow and show yourself is going to give you the opportunity to make these next steps happen and to be remembered when somebody really needs your solution. And you're a great solution provider, so don't forget it. Don't forget it. So
Wonderful.
Thanks so much, everybody. It was
Thank
good
you.
to
Let's give her
everybody
the
again.
Zoom.
Marge, it was
Yay.
good to meet you, and thank you all.
This is wonderful. Well, thank you again So there's a lot of information here, a lot of things to be thinking about. And I hope you've got a couple of nuggets now to say, what can I try in the next couple of weeks? So we do have a follow-up piece to the schedule for 2 weeks from today. It's a check-in session, so not a full 9 to 12:30, but we'll just say 9 to 11. I always say 11:30, but I'll probably go a little bit, maybe a little shorter, depending on what we do. Let's go 9 to 11:30 just to call it, and to come back and just say, here's what I've thought about. Anywhere from here's what I've thought about to here's what I've done in the last couple of weeks. So you might start experimenting with one of those social media platforms. You might be thinking about your own personal branding and what to do. So let's just come back together in 2 weeks on the Zoom and check in with each other and see where you're headed or what you're thinking about. So even if you haven't done anything yet, come back in. If it's a short call, it's a short call. If it's a full call, even all the better. We can learn from each other as we do that. Sound good?
Yep.
Yes. Hi, Amy.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Last time we met, I made a note on my whiteboard
Okay.
and I wrote 5-7 NSA John, be ready. Why would I have written that?
5-7. That's,
Do you
Any-
know?
I don't have that one. I'm trying to think. We did come back, not the last time. I mean, we did have a follow-up, but I think you were there.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
Um,
you were there at the follow-up. We did have something on May 8th,
Right.
but we've changed it to May 15th
Oh,
so
since
yeah,
we're not going to be meeting at Schoolcraft.
it sounds like the last session we had with Barry Banther, we did the chapter did an informal survey to see who would be willing to come back to an in-person, and the overriding result was not yet. And I'm actually not even sure that Schoolcraft is open. So the chapter meeting.
Schoolcraft is not accepting us.
so on May 8th, we don't have anything, but we have something on May 15th because I don't
Well-
have anything on May 15th.
It's because this is just coming up. So the May 8th is the chapter meeting.
Right.
So, and actually, I would highly recommend, I've heard bits and pieces of Crystal Washington before, but she is really all about systems in your business. So I know we've had a bonus session. We had some of that with Greg Peters. This is her business though. And so and she just comes very highly recommended. And I think it's the first time she's coming to our chapter. We've not seen her before. So if you could do that, remember you are still in that member rates. So if you can make the May 8th, and then because we're not in person, just to go right into the academy in the afternoon, we're just pushing our academy session to May 15th.
Okay, but we haven't gotten those emails yet to schedule.
It didn't, but it's here. I mean, so here it is. You can put it in your calendar that we're going to May 15th for our CSP panel.
And
Otherwise, you would be on Zoom all day, May 8th.
Yeah.
and we would be
Yeah,
passing
so
out.
May 15th is 9 to 12 again, or?
that's like a 9 to 12:30, but I don't know that what I'll tell you is just the nature of the thing. Put it in for 9 to 12:30. We may or may not use the full day with that.
Mhm.
And so, but that is our regularly scheduled academy session then. And then just to give you a heads up on what's coming in June, we're moving to a new topic area again. So this is in our academy session in June will be on authorship and product development. So it starts thinking about what are other ways besides getting on a stage or on a Zoom, I guess, and how else do you build your business? And Marilyn Subtle from our chapter is doing that. And she was doing product variations way before COVID. She was doing video, she's got books, she's got self-study things, a lot of different things. So she's going to talk a little bit about how to get into some of that. So if you're thinking about what else can I do besides get on a stage or get on a plane, that'll be great for us. So Marilyn?
So Amy, we've covered May 8th and May 15th.
We don't know.
Did John perhaps challenge us to have something done, to you set a plan for yourself?
I don't know.
Does anybody remember
May
that?
7th doesn't sound familiar.
I remember I got up and wrote it when we were with Margarita.
Oh,
So
when
I don't,
Margarita.
I don't know why I did it though. She
All
said
right.
something and I thought it was like a, was there a recording opportunity or something?
I'm wondering, she was doing, but this has been a while, she was doing a program with Marilyn Subtle on being a good host, like an MC for virtual sessions. I think they were doing some of that.
I don't know, I'll figure it out.
So with that, I'm going to stop our recording. We've kind of gone here, but I'm just going to stop our recording here.